Chapter 620. All right. Receiving the Heaven's Travel Charm Ship from Mo Qingyun, the Grand Supreme Elder activated it and turned it into a huge charm ship. Seeing that the Grand Supreme Elder had activated the Heaven's Travel Charm Ship, Mo Qingyun and the rest boarded the charm ship and continued their journey to Myriad World Mountain. After boarding the Heaven's Travel Charm Ship, Mo Qingyun walked into the cabin and entered a room. Mo Qingyun entered the room, and his figure flashed into He Xian Palace and walked into a cultivation room. Arriving at the cultivation room in He Xian Palace, he took out the Chinquan bags obtained from the Ghost Talisman sect and the Talisman Bandit and checked them one by one. The items in the Chinquan bags of the Ghost Talisman sect and the rest were not plentiful. They were mainly ordinary talismans and soul essence stones. These items were not of much use to Mo Qingyun. Following which, Mo Qingyun took out the soul essence stones and put the remaining items into a Chinquan bag, preparing to find an opportunity to sell them in the future. After checking the Chinquan lines of the Ghost Talisman sect and the rest, Mo Qingyun took out the Chinquan bags of the Talisman Bandit and the rest and checked them one by one. The items in the Chinquan bags of the Talisman Bandit and the rest were undoubtedly much more plentiful. It was completely incomparable to the Ghost Talisman sect and the rest. After checking the Chinquan bags of the Talisman Bandit and the rest, Mo Qingyun first took out the soul essence stones and put them all into a Chinquan bag. 200 billion soul essence stones. After putting all the soul essence stones together, Mo Qingyun revealed a shocked expression. He was a little surprised by the number of soul essence stones. With the number of soul essence stones I have now, I'm afraid it's not much less than some ordinary 7 seal sects. After putting away the soul essence stones, Mo Qingyun continued to check the other items. 9-year-old Buddha Heart Soul Grass, 700-year-old Mandala Soul Tiller, 800-year-old Return to Zero Brahma Soul Fruit. Following which, various spiritual elixirs that could increase soul strength appeared in Mo Qingyun's line of sight. With these spirit herbs, it shouldn't be too difficult for my soul cultivation to reach the late stage of the sky spirit realm. Looking at the various soul force enhancing elixirs in front of him, Mo Qingyun revealed a look of ecstasy, his mood becoming somewhat excited. However, before Mo Qingyun could calm the joy in his heart, the joy on his face became even stronger. This is the source of the fire lava. Looking at the crimson crystal in front of him, Mo Qingyun's expression immediately became excited. He said ecstatically, "With the assistance of this fire lava source, the time it takes for me to convert the profundity of fire into the power of fire will be reduced by at least 5 times. Then, Mo Qingyun carefully kept the fire lava source and continued to check the other items. However, the following items made Mo Qingyun feel a little disappointed. They were all ordinary talismans and talisman crafting materials. After a short period of disappointment, Mo Qingyun didn't care too much. After all, he had already gained a lot this time around. Not only did he obtain a large number of primordial soul stones, but he also obtained many elixir crafting materials. Most importantly, he also obtained the fire lava source. Immediately, Mo Qingyun threw all the useless items into a Chinquan bag and prepared to deal with them together with the previous items. There is still some time before we reach Myriad World Mountain. After dealing with all the items, Mo Qingyun revealed a look of contemplation. He secretly made a plan in his heart. I can make use of this time to refine the fire lava source and transform my fire Upanishad into fire power. After thinking about it, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and immediately started to refine the fire lava source. Under Mo Qingyun's refining, the fire lava source melted bit by bit and turned into a red liquid. After the fire lava source melted into the red liquid, it was sucked into Mo Qingyun's body bit by bit and started to refine it. After the fire lava source entered Mo Qingyun's body, it merged with the fire Upanishad origin power in Mo Qingyun's body and strengthened the fire Upanishad origin power in Mo Qingyun's body. As the fire esoteric power was strengthened bit by bit, the fire esoteric power emanating from Mo Qingyun's body also became stronger. At that moment, if there was anyone present, they would definitely realize that Mo Qingyun's fire Upanishad origin power had already shown some signs of power. At that moment, as the fire Upanishad origin power in Mo Qingyun's body became stronger, Mo Qingyun entered a very mysterious state. This state was like a scholar revisiting the books he had read when he was young. He was in a state of studying the old and learning the new. As Mo Qingyun entered this state, the strength of the flame power in his body also multiplied. Then, time passed bit by bit as Mo Qingyun cultivated. In the blink of an eye, 20 days had passed. Under Mo Qingyun's refining, the entire leaf fire lava source was finally refined completely. As the source of the leaf fire lava was completely refined, Mo Qingyun, who was in the midst of cultivation, opened his eyes with a joyful expression. Peak of level 3 firepower. Mo Qingyun's face lit up with ecstasy when he sensed the power of fire he had reached. He was very satisfied with his cultivation progress. This time, it took me a total of 20 days to convert the ultimacy power. Calculating the time, I should be reaching Myriad World Mountain soon. Mo Qingyun frowned and calculated the cultivation time in his heart. He thought to himself, since the leaf fire lava source has been refined, there won't be much progress in a short period of time if I continue to cultivate. Let's go out and see how things are going. After thinking about it, Mo Qingyun got up and walked out of the cultivation room. He was ready to leave Heixian Palace in a flash. Before Mo Qingyun left Heixian Palace, he went to check on the 9 temples and Heixian. He saw that the 9th temples and Heixian were still in deep sleep. Seeing that the 9th temples and Heixian were still in deep sleep, Mo Qingyun did not disturb them. This period of time was the best time for the two of them to recover their strength. If they were disturbed, it would be a big pity. After sensing the aura of the 9th temples and Heixian, Mo Qingyun realized that the strength of the two of them had increased a lot during this period of time. After clearing the 9th temples and Heixian, Mo Qingyun did not stay any longer and left Heixian Palace. After leaving Heixian Palace, Missouri Qingyun walked out of the cabin and came to the Supreme Elder and the others on the deck. Qingyun, you're here. Seeing Mo Qingyun approaching, the Supreme Elder and the others smiled faintly and greeted Mo Qingyun. At that moment, when the Supreme Elder greeted Mo Qingyun, they looked at Mo Qingyun with a slight surprise. At that moment, they felt that Mo Qingyun's aura had become sharper, but there was no change in his cultivation. Such a situation made them feel very puzzled. Supreme Elder, how long more until we reach Myriad World Mountain? When Mo Qingyun arrived in front of the Grand Elder and the others, he had a look of anticipation on his face as he asked the Grand Elder. The grade of the Talisman Bandit's astral travel talisman ship is of a higher grade, and its flying speed is much faster. Currently, I can enter Myriad World Mountain in an hour. Chapter 6:21. Half an hour later, a continuous mountain range appeared in front of Mo Qingyun and the rest. In front of the mountain range was a majestic city. At this moment, there were many people in talisman boats around the city that were rushing towards it at top speed. They seemed to be people from various sects who were participating in the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering. After a while, Mo Qingyun and the rest Heaven's Travel Talisman boat arrived at the city gate. When the talisman boat arrived at the city gate, the Supreme Elder looked solemn and said to Mo Qingyun and the rest, "Talisman boats are forbidden to fly within 1 mile of 10,000 World City. Let's walk in." After the Supreme Elder said that, he stopped the Heaven's Travel Talisman boat. Seeing that the Heaven's Travel Talisman boat had stopped, Mo Qingyun and the rest walked down the Heaven's Travel Talisman boat and walked towards 10,000 World City. Once they entered 10,000 World City, Mo Qingyun finally understood how terrifying the number of people participating in the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering was. At this moment, the entire city road of 10,000 World City was packed with people. That kind of feeling was like going to the market, incomparably crowded. However, When he thought of the number of sects participating in the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering, Mo Qingyun felt relieved. Let's find a place to stay first. After glancing at the crowd in front of him, Mo Qingyun said to the rest and walked towards a more luxurious restaurant. Stop right there. At this moment, when Mo Qingyun walked to the entrance of the restaurant, a cold voice shouted at him. Hearing these cold words, Mo Qingyun frowned slightly and looked at the other party with an indifferent gaze. When Mo Qingyun saw the person's face, he frowned slightly and was slightly surprised. The person who spoke was actually the waiter of the restaurant. Seeing this, Mo Qingyun was displeased and said coldly, "Why? Is this how your restaurant receives guests?" Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, the waiter looked at him with disdain and said mockingly, "Kid, with your 6 seals sect status, you can't afford to stay in our Heavenly Rainbow Hotel. Get out of the hotel immediately. Don't stand here and waste my time." As the waiter spoke, he purposely released his aura towards Mo Qingyun and the others. 6 seal, intermediate rank. Sensing Little Fool's aura, the Supreme Elder and the others were shocked. They looked at Little Fool with reverence in their eyes. They did not expect a waiter from the Heavenly Rainbow Hotel to have a cultivation of the intermediate 6 seal. From this, it could be seen how powerful the background of the Heavenly Rainbow restaurant was. You can't afford it. When he heard the waiter's words, a cold smile appeared on Mo Qingyun's face as he said in a cold tone, "Could it be that you're not worried that your snobbish attitude will bring trouble to your Heavenly Rainbow restaurant? Brat, you're courting death." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, the waiter's face darkened and he was about to attack Mo Qingyun. "Brother Huida, it's really you." At that moment, a surprised voice came from behind the Supreme Elder. Then, Mo Qingyun saw a group of people approaching. When the old man in the lead approached, he smiled faintly at the Supreme Elder and said, "Brother Huida, I didn't expect you to personally lead the disciples of the Thatched Talisman sect to the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering. Brother Xinshin, aren't you the same?" The Supreme Elder was surprised when he saw the people in front of him. Then, he smiled faintly and said, "The disciples of your sect are not bad. Their cultivation is close to the 6 seal Great Talisman Master level." "Haha, not bad." Hearing the Great Elder's praise, the Great Elder of the Shu Talisman sect, Yu Xinshin, smiled proudly and said, "These useless brats, if they worked harder, they would be able to participate in the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering with a cultivation level of 6 seals." When Yu Xinshin said this, his tone was obviously flaunting. He turned to look at Mo Qingyun and the others and said, "Brother Huida, are these the 3 disciples of the Thatched Talisman sect who will be participating in the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering?" "That's right." When Fang Huida heard Yu Xinshin ask about Mo Qingyun and the others, he smiled and said to Mo Qingyun and the others, "Qingyun, Mo Qing, Zhelan, this is Senior Yu Xinshin from the Shu Talisman sect." "Greetings, Senior." When Mo Qingyun and the others heard this, they bowed politely to Yu Xinshin. "Haha, there's no need for such formalities." When Yu Xinshin saw the actions of Mo Qingyun and the others, he smiled faintly and waved his hand at Mo Qingyun and the others. However, if one looked closely, one would notice that there was a trace of disappointment and disdain in Yu Xinshin's eyes. In his opinion, the disciples of the Thatched Talisman sect who would be participating in the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering were too weak and couldn't be compared to the disciples of the Shu Talisman sect. "Supreme Elder, so this is the Thatched Talisman sect that you always talk about?" At this moment, a young man behind Yu Xinshin looked at Mo Qingyun and the others with disdain and mocked. The disciples of the Thatched Talisman sect seem very ordinary. Out of the 3 who will be participating in the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering, only one of them is at the peak of the 5th seal Great Talisman sect. That brat's cultivation is only at the beginning stage of the 5th seal Great Talisman sect. Are the disciples of the Thatched Talisman sect all so useless? "Shinquan, don't be rude." Yu Xinshin's expression immediately turned serious when he heard the young man's words. He pretended to be unhappy and scolded him. Then he smiled at Fang Huida and said, "Brother Huida, this brat lacks discipline and doesn't watch his mouth. Please forgive him. Haha, it's fine. Feng Huaida's expression was a little unnatural when he heard Yu Xinxin's words. He squeezed out a faint smile in response. Mo Qingyun and the other two revealed a trace of disgust when they heard what Yu Shangquan and the others said. Mo Qingyun ignored them and smiled at Feng Huaida. Supreme Elder, it's been a long and tiring journey for us. Let's go to the restaurant and rest first. Mo Qingyun walked towards the Heavenly Rainbow restaurant as soon as he finished speaking. However, when Mo Qingyun walked towards the Heavenly Rainbow restaurant, Yu Xinxin pulled Feng Huaida back and said, "Brother Huaida, you can't indulge your disciples like this. The Heavenly Rainbow restaurant costs 10 million Origin Spirit Stones a day. Moreover, it costs 100 million Origin Spirit Stones to open a room card. You people," the meaning of Yu Xinxin's words couldn't be more obvious. He felt that Feng Huaida couldn't afford to pay so many Origin Spirit Stones. Did you see that? A fifth seal initial stage brat wants to stay in the Seven Seals restaurant? Is he dreaming? He's just puffing himself up at his own cost. When he asks about the price, he'll be so scared that he'll pee his pants. That's right. We'll stand here and watch how they pee their pants because of the price. At this moment, Yu Shengquan and the others had mocking expressions on their faces as they looked at Mo Qingyun and the others mockingly. At this moment, when Yu Shengquan and the others were ridiculing Mo Qingyun, the waiter's face darkened. He impatiently rebuked, "You beggars, get the hell out of my way. Don't block my way and affect my business." Chapter 622. Swoosh. Mo Qingyun did not hold back when he saw the waiter attacking. He took out a quasi-seven seal sword talisman and activated it. Then, a sword talisman with an aura comparable to a seven seal talisman emitted a fierce aura and transformed into a sword light that blasted towards the waiter. The waiter's expression changed drastically when he saw the sword talisman that was as powerful as a seven seal sword talisman. He did not expect the five seal sword talisman that he had looked down on to possess such a powerful sword talisman. Not only was the waiter stunned, but the people from the Shu Talisman sect were also stunned. This brat is too audacious. He actually dared to attack the waiter of the Seven Seal restaurant. Yu Xinxin's expression turned grave when he saw Mo Qingyun's actions. He was worried for Feng Huaida and said, "I'm afraid the Mao Talisman sect won't have a good life after accepting such a disciple." In Yu Xinxin's opinion, the Mao Talisman sect was courting death by offending a Seven Seal restaurant with their strength. This brat really doesn't know what's good for him. He actually dared to attack the waiter. He's courting death. I'm afraid he doesn't know that the waiter's cultivation is the same as their sect's Grand Elder. When this brat finds out that even their Grand Elder could not stop the waiter from killing him, his expression will be pretty good. It's fine if this brat dies. However, the lady beside him is extremely beautiful. It'll be a pity if she dies like this. At this moment, Yu Shangquan and the others all had gloating smiles on their faces as they whispered to each other. Bang! While the people from the Shu Talisman sect were shocked by Mo Qingyun's actions, the waiter was sent flying by the sword talisman. Puffed. After the waiter fell to the ground, he spat out a mouthful of blood and his face turned pale. Brat, you actually dared to attack someone. It seems like you're tired of living. The waiter crawled up from the ground with a ferocious expression on his face. He shouted into the restaurant, "Boss, someone is causing trouble here." I told them to leave, but not only did they not leave, they even tried to sneak attack me. Let's go to the side first. We don't want to be implicated by that brat. Yu Xinxin's expression changed when he saw this scene. He led the people from the Shu Talisman sect to the side. Oomph. How dare you injure people in my Heavenly Rainbow Hotel? How dare you? As the waiter's words traveled into the hotel, a terrifying aura erupted from the hotel. Thump, thump, thump. Under the pressure of this terrifying aura, Mo Qingyun and the rest were forced to retreat as the blood in their hearts churned. Peak of the seventh seal. After sensing this aura, Feng Huaida and the others immediately paled and revealed a look of horror. In the face of such a terrifying expert, they had no chance to resist at all. All of you, stop right there. You injure my heavenly rainbow restaurant's people, and you want to leave so easily? It's not that simple. When the shopkeeper of Tianhong restaurant walked out of the restaurant and saw the actions of Yu Xianxin and the rest, he coldly uttered these words. Hearing the shopkeeper's words, Yu Xianxin and the others immediately trembled and revealed looks of panic. They hurriedly explained, "Sir, please calm down. We're just passing by and are not familiar with these people. Their injuries have nothing to do with us. Brother Xianxin, you and I have known each other for more than 200 years. How could you?" When he heard Yu Xianxin's words, Feng Huaida's expression immediately darkened, and he spoke with hidden anger. This Yu Xianxin was too hateful. In order to protect their lives, he directly sold them out. "Friend, you and I don't know each other. Don't simply assume that we are friends." Upon hearing Feng Huaida's words, Yu Xianxin immediately pretended to be confused. After replying to Feng Huaida, he looked towards Mo Qingyun and said, "This disciple of your sect is unruly and arrogant. He thinks that he can act arrogantly and injure others just because he has some powerful talismans in his possession. He should indeed be punished." When he saw Yu Xianxin's attitude, Feng Huaida's expression immediately became even more furious. He could not wait to tear Yu Xianxin into pieces. "Senior, just now I saw the waiter trying to persuade this kid. He told this kid and the others that if they don't have the money to stay in the Seven Seals Hotel, they can stay in the Six Seals Hotel." Yu Xianxin directly chose to ignore Feng Huaida's expression. With a righteous expression, he looked at the shopkeeper and said, "But no one would have thought that this brat would be so rude and unreasonable." After listening to little brother's advice, he actually took out a talisman to injure him. This is really too much. We're all crying out for little brother's injustice. I can't afford to stay in a hotel. When he heard Yu Xianxin's words, Mo Qingyun immediately revealed a look of disdain, and a trace of killing intent flashed in his eyes. In order to protect his own life, Yu Xianxin had distanced himself from Feng Huaida. This was something that Mo Qingyun could still accept. But now, in order to protect his own life, Yu Xianxin had slandered them like this. This touched Mo Qingyun's bottom line. "Kid, you'd better give me a reasonable explanation." When he heard Yu Xianxin's words, the shopkeeper's face immediately turned gloomy. He coldly looked at Mo Qingyun and said, "Otherwise, even if the Myriad World City does not allow killing, I will still kill all of you." As soon as the shopkeeper finished speaking, his body emitted a murderous aura that pressed down on Mo Qingyun and the others. Under the shroud of the murderous aura, Feng Huaida and the others immediately felt as if they were in an ice cellar. An intense chill rose from their backs. When they heard the shopkeeper's words, Yu Shangquan and the others who were standing at the side revealed a gloating smile. "This kid and the others are dead meat. He injured the waiter of the Seven Seals Hotel. This matter will not be resolved so easily. The Thatched Talisman sect is really unlucky to have accepted such a disciple. This time, the Thatched Talisman sect will be finished. Now it seems that this kid is not puffing himself up at his own cost. Instead, his brain will be damaged and he will become a retard." Yu Shengquan and the others who were standing at the side sneered and looked at Mo Qingyun gloatingly. Mo Qingyun did not pay attention to Yu Xianxin and the others' expressions. Instead, he raised his hand and waved at the hotel. Walalala, following which, pieces of origin spirit stones fell like rain into the heavenly rainbow hotel. Not long after, a small mountain of origin spirit stones appeared before everyone's eyes. 50 billion origin spirit stones. When they saw the number of origin spirit stones in front of them, Yu Xianxin and the others were instantly shocked. They looked at Mo Qingyun with astonishment. 50 billion origin spirit stones. Even the entire Shu Talisman sect could not take out half of it. How is this possible? How could a Thatched Talisman sect disciple have so many origin spirit stones on him? At this moment, the people from the Shu Talisman sect were instantly stunned and revealed an expression of disbelief. Such a scene was simply too shocking. Chapter 6:23. When he heard Mo Qingyun's words, The manager's expression changed slightly as he immediately understood what Mo Qingyun meant. Just now, the waiter and Yu Xianxin had both said that Mo Qingyun could not afford to stay in the hotel. Now, however, Mo Qingyun had actually taken out 50 billion origin spirit stones. This undoubtedly proved that the waiter and Yu Xianxin had lied. In this way, Mo Qingyun had hurt someone else for another reason. However, even though he knew that the waiter and Yu Xianxin had lied, it was a fact that Mo Qingyun had hurt someone. A Six-Seal sect disciple had hurt someone in his Seven-Seal hotel. This was something that he could not accept. Immediately, the manager's expression darkened as he looked at Mo Qingyun with an unhappy expression and said, "Even though you can take out enough origin spirit stones to stay in the hotel, this is not enough reason for you to hurt someone. Thus, you must give me a more reasonable explanation." As the manager's words fell, he stared coldly at Mo Qingyun, waiting for Mo Qingyun's reply. "How about this? Manager, let me tell you a story about a dog that hates wine." Mo Qingyun had expected the manager to say this. After hearing these words, he smiled faintly and said, "Once upon a time, there was a hotel that kept a vicious guard dog. It would always block the entrance of the hotel, scaring away customers who wanted to enter. In the end, because there were no customers in the hotel, the wine turned sour." After speaking, Mo Qingyun fell silent as he smiled faintly at the manager. When he heard Mo Qingyun's words, the manager's eyebrows furrowed as he faintly understood Mo Qingyun's meaning. Mo Qingyun was indirectly telling him that the waiter was the vicious dog that blocked the entrance, blocking customers who wanted to enter the hotel. After understanding the reason, the manager's expression was still cold as he smiled faintly at Mo Qingyun. "If that's the case, shouldn't I thank you?" Although the shopkeeper's words seemed to be thanking Mo Qingyun, his tone was still a little cold. From his point of view, Mo Qingyun's explanation was still a little far-fetched. Of course, although the shopkeeper was still displeased with Mo Qingyun, his gaze towards the waiter had become a bit colder. Seeing the indifferent gaze of the shopkeeper, the waiter immediately trembled and his face turned pale. The shopkeeper was already dissatisfied with him. "Shopkeeper, you missed the key part of what I said just now." Hearing the shopkeeper's words, Mo Qingyun smiled meaningfully and said to the shopkeeper, "If that's the case, I'll point it out to you. Shopkeeper, think carefully. Who are the people who have come to the city of 1,000 worlds?" Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, the shopkeeper was puzzled. However, he still replied, "The people who have come to the 10,000 world city are from the various sects who are participating in the 10,000 talisman immortal gathering." However, this has nothing to do with you, right? Shopkeeper, you're wrong. You should know that the disciples who are participating in the 10,000 talisman immortal gathering are the geniuses of the various sections. Hearing the shopkeeper's words, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and shook his head. He said, "Think about it. If one of the people who have been chased away has a grudge against your hotel and is later chosen by the Nine Seals sect through the 10,000 talisman immortal gathering, when he is fully grown, what would he want to do the most?" Hiss. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, the shopkeeper's expression immediately twitched and a chill rose in his heart. Being able to establish himself in the city of 1,000 worlds, he naturally had outstanding intelligence. He was very clear about the meaning behind Mo Qingyun's words. Mo Qingyun was indirectly telling him that once the disciple's cultivation was successful, he would definitely seek revenge on him. If a genius disciple of the Nine Seals sect wanted to seek revenge on him, it would be a very troublesome matter. At this moment, he truly realized the seriousness of the situation. Seeing the shopkeeper's expression, Mo Qingyun's smile became wider. He said, "Shopkeeper, don't bully the young for being poor. Now, is my reason enough?" Little brother's words have enlightened this old man. This old man can't thank you enough. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, the shopkeeper immediately smiled faintly. He clasped his hands together and thanked Mo Qingyun. "In order to express my gratitude to you, I have decided to let you and the rest stay for free. You can stay for as long as you want." At this moment, The shopkeeper was very clear that although the possibility of what Mo Qingyun said was small, it did not mean that it would not happen. But that didn't mean that it wouldn't happen. If it did, it would be very scary. Thinking about it, a disciple from the Six Seals sect could enter the Nine Seals sect through the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering and grow up in the Nine Seals sect. It was obvious how monstrous his talent was. One must know that the background of a disciple from the Six Seals sect could not be compared to a disciple from the 7 or 8 Seals sect. Free stay for as long as you want. Hearing the shopkeeper's words, everyone's expression immediately became sluggish, not daring to believe their ears. Mo Qingyun only said a few words and resolved the crisis just like that. The change in the situation was too fast and too big. Thank you, shopkeeper. If that's the case, we won't stand on ceremony. Hearing the shopkeeper's words, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and thanked him. Then, Mo Qingyun walked into the hotel. However, when he reached the entrance of the hotel, he looked at the waiter at the side and retreated. Then, Mo Qingyun revealed a playful look. He looked at the waiter and did not speak, waiting for the shopkeeper to express his opinion. Seeing Mo Qingyun's action, the shopkeeper immediately understood what he meant. He looked coldly at the waiter and said angrily, "Xie Zhangyun, get out of the city of 1,000 worlds immediately. I don't want to see you in the city of 1,000 worlds in the future." As soon as the shopkeeper finished speaking, he unleashed his aura and sent the waiter flying away. Bang! Under the shopkeeper's aura, the waiter was immediately sent flying and fell heavily on the ground. Puff! After being attacked by the shopkeeper's aura, the waiter spat out blood again, and his face became even paler. Yes, yes, yes. I'll get out now. The waiter got up from the ground and scrambled away like a stray dog. A faint smile appeared on Mo Qingyun's face as he watched the waiter walk into the distance. He turned his head towards Yu Xianxin and the rest, and said with a smile, "Elder, since you are acquainted with the Grand Elder, the shopkeeper has invited me to stay here. All of you should come as well." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Yu Xianxin and the rest's faces immediately turned pale. They naturally knew that Mo Qingyun was not inviting them to stay. Instead, he was reminding the shopkeeper that Yu Xianxin had lied to him. No need. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Yu Xianxin's face twitched. He hurriedly waved his hand and said in a panic, "Young friend, I'm old. Sometimes my mind is not clear and I say some nonsense. I hope you don't take it to heart." "Ha! Senior, don't worry. You and the Grand Supreme Elder are good friends. Naturally, I won't blame you." Hearing Yu Xianxin's words, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and replied with a magnanimous expression, "Thank you, young friend. Thank you." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Yu Xianxin's expression immediately relaxed, and he hurriedly thanked Mo Qingyun. "Shopkeeper, Senior Yu Xianxin and the Grand Supreme Elder are good friends. I can't blame him." Chapter 624. Brat, you're so ruthless. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Yu Xianxin's face twitched. He looked at Mo Qingyun furiously. If he still could not understand the meaning behind Mo Qingyun's words, he could go and die. Mo Qingyun's actions showed that he wanted to kill them with a borrowed knife. However, he had to admit that Mo Qingyun's move of retreating to advance was really well played. Next, if the shopkeeper attacked them, they would end up in an even more miserable state. This brat is so scheming. Seeing Mo Qingyun's actions, the shopkeeper could not help but sigh in his heart. However, he still looked at Yu Xianxin and the rest coldly. "Oomph. I almost got myself into big trouble because of your words. If I don't punish you, how can I establish myself in the Myriad World City in the future?" After the shopkeeper finished speaking, he released a powerful aura and attacked Yu Xianxin and the rest. Bang, bang, bang. Then, Yu Xianxin and the rest were sent flying. Their faces were pale, and they spat out blood. Subsequently, Yu Xianxin and the rest's aura weakened. It seemed that they were seriously injured by the shopkeeper's aura. After using his aura to attack Yu Xianxin and the rest, the shopkeeper's face turned cold. He shouted at them coldly, "Scram! Thank you, Senior, for not killing us." Hearing the shopkeeper's words, Yu Xianxin and the rest did not dare to stay any longer. They immediately left with their tails between their legs. "Little brother, please." After severely injuring Yu Xianxin and the rest, and chasing them away, the shopkeeper smiled faintly and made an inviting gesture to Mo Qingyun. With just a few words, he made the waiter, Yu Xianxin, and the rest leave with their tails between their legs. Qingyun's performance is unparalleled. Seeing the scene in front of him, the Supreme Elder sighed and could not help but feel gratified. This is simply too unbelievable. Junior brother Mo actually managed to resolve such a dangerous situation just like that. Seeing this, Mo Qing's face was filled with disbelief. He couldn't help but say excitedly, "I believe that after this 10,000 talismans immortal meeting, Junior brother Mo's name will definitely shake the entire immortal path." "I think so too. This time, Junior brother Mo will definitely amaze everyone." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, He Jilan smiled sweetly. She looked at Mo Qingyun with a little bitterness and said coquettishly, "It's a pity that when it comes to emotions, he's a fool, a blockhead of..." Hee. Seeing He Jilan's actions, Mo Qing chuckled but did not express his opinion. After entering the hotel, the manager instructed a waiter, Lu Chong, go and arrange a few top-notch rooms for these guests immediately. "Yes, manager." Hearing the shopkeeper's instructions, the waiter didn't dare to hesitate. He immediately smiled at Mo Qingyun and the others and said, "Dear guests, please follow me." Just now, he clearly saw that the waiter, Xie Zhangyun, had offended Mo Qingyun and was sent out of the 10,000 World City by the shopkeeper. At this moment, just as the waiter was greeting Mo Qingyun and the others, an old man with slightly unkempt hair walked quickly to the front of the shopkeeper and said with a serious expression, "Brother Lu, do you still have 9-year-old Buddha heart soul grass, 700-year-old mandala soul tiller, 800-year-old return to zero Brahma soul fruit?" Once the old man appeared, he listed a bunch of names of elixir ingredients to the shopkeeper. Hearing the old man's words, the shopkeeper's expression turned serious. He said with a troubled expression, "Brother Ho, I've already handed the 3 sets of ingredients to you. Now, it's difficult for me to gather them at the last minute. 9-year-old Buddha heart soul grass, 700-year-old mandala soul tiller, 800-year-old return to zero Brahma soul fruit." At this moment, when the shopkeeper and the old man were talking, Mo Qingyun stopped in his tracks. He frowned slightly and muttered to himself. Hearing the old man's list of ingredients, he seems to be planning to refine the creation universe soul elixir. Swish! Just as Mo Qingyun was muttering to himself, he saw a figure appear in front of him with a whoosh. The figure that had arrived in front of Mo Qingyun was none other than the unkempt old man who had been talking to the shopkeeper. The unkempt old man was pleasantly surprised when he arrived in front of Mo Qingyun. "Kid, I didn't expect you to know about the creation universe soul elixir at your age. Does this mean that you also know how to refine elixirs?" Peak of the manifestation stage. Mo Qingyun's expression immediately changed when he sensed the spiritual aura ripples from the old man's body. He was somewhat surprised by the old man's strength. He didn't expect this unkempt old man to be on the same level as the shopkeeper. He was comparable to a peak transcendent stage expert. After a brief moment of surprise, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and replied to the old man, "I've dabbled a little. What instructions do you have for me, senior?" "That's great." The unkempt old man's face immediately lit up when he heard Mo Qingyun's words. His voice was somewhat excited as he said, "Recently, I've been refining elixirs, and I've been lacking an apprentice. You can be my alchemy apprentice. Brother Ho, you want to take this kid in as your alchemy apprentice?" The shopkeeper was immediately shocked when he heard the unkempt old man's words. He thought he had misheard. He clearly knew how harsh and perverse the unkempt old man's requirements for taking in a disciple were. More importantly, the unkempt old man was a grade 8 pill emperor. If Mo Qingyun could become his apprentice, it would be like a carp entering the dragon's gate. That's right. I find this kid pleasing to the eye, so I want to take him in as my alchemy apprentice. The unkempt old man grinned when he heard the shopkeeper's words. It was as if he was announcing something very important. Thank you for your kindness, Senior. Mo Qingyun thanked the unkempt old man when he heard his words. He then said, however, I'm not interested in refining elixirs. I'm afraid I won't be able to disappoint you. Please find another suitable candidate. You're actually unwilling? Hearing Mo Qingyun's answer, the sloppy old man immediately revealed an astonished expression and said in surprise, Little fellow, do you know that this old man is an 8th grade pill emperor? Now that I've accepted you as my alchemy apprentice, this is a blessing that I've accumulated over several lifetimes. Is it because this blessing came too suddenly that you suddenly said something wrong? In the unkempt old man's opinion, with his status as a grade 8 pill emperor, if he released the news that he was recruiting an alchemy apprentice, countless people would fight to apply. But now, this kid in front of him actually rejected him. This really surprised him. At this moment, not only was the unkempt old man surprised, the shopkeeper beside him was also surprised. He advised Mo Qingyun, Little brother, although my friend's temper is a little weird, his alchemy skills are extremely high. You being his alchemy apprentice is much more reliable than participating in the 10,000 Talismans Immortal Gathering. Chapter 625. However, it was normal for the shopkeeper to have such thoughts. After all, on the surface, Mo Qingyun's cultivation was only at the beginner 5th seal level, which barely met the requirements to participate in the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering. If he participated in the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering with such a cultivation level, he would definitely be reduced to cannon fodder. At that time, he would not even know how he died. Rather than being reduced to cannon fodder in the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering, it was more practical to become this sloppy old man's apprentice. Under normal circumstances, the apprentice status of an 8th grade pill emperor was comparable to that of an inner disciple of a 9-seal sect. In fact, from a certain perspective, the apprentice status of an 8th grade pill emperor was even more noble than that of an inner disciple of a 9-seal sect. This was because the number of apprentices beside an pill emperor would not be as many as an inner disciple of a sect. This way, it would be easier for them to be groomed. Thank you for your kind intentions. However, I have always been focused on the martial Tao, so I can only apologize. Hearing the shopkeeper's words, Mo Qingyun thanked him and said, after the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering ends, if you need my help in refining pills, I will definitely do my best to help you. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, the shopkeeper did not try to persuade him any further. After all, everyone had their own ambitions, and it was impossible to force everyone to have the same thoughts. Then the shopkeeper smiled faintly and said to Mo Qingyun, Little brother, there are only 3 days left before the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering begins. It is enough time to refine a cauldron of universal spirit pills. Why don't you help me refine pills first? I will definitely listen to your arrangements. Hearing the shopkeeper's words, Mo Qingyun frowned slightly and nodded in agreement to the shopkeeper's request. Little brat, do you think that I can't refine pills without you? Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, the sloppy old man revealed a trace of displeasure and glared fiercely at Mo Qingyun. Seeing this, Mo Qingyun and the shopkeeper's expressions froze, and a trace of a bitter smile appeared on their faces. This old man was actually throwing a tantrum. The shopkeeper bitterly smiled and shook his head, revealing a helpless expression. He smiled at Mo Qingyun and thanked him. If that's the case, I'll have to trouble you. After thanking Mo Qingyun, the shopkeeper revealed a faint smile and said to the sloppy old man, Brother Ho, you can go back and wait for me for a while. I'll go buy some alchemy ingredients for you. As soon as the shopkeeper's words fell, he didn't want to waste any more time and immediately prepared to go and purchase the alchemy ingredients. Senior, please wait a moment. Seeing the shopkeeper's action, Mo Qingyun immediately called out to him with a serious expression, Senior, if you have the nature silence fruit, golden cauldron soul grass, and dragon scale soul beast blood, you don't need to buy any more ingredients. I have the rest. What? You have all of them? Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, The shopkeeper immediately revealed a look of surprise and excitement. Mo Qingyun's words were like charcoal in snowy weather to him at this moment. Oh, the unkempt old man was surprised when he heard Mo Qingyun's words. He said with some doubt, "Kid, don't be so sure. Why don't you tell me about the materials for the universal divine soul pill?" "That's all right." After Mo Qingyun heard this, he didn't say anything more to the sloppy old man and directly said, "Nature's silence fruit, golden cauldron soul grass, dragon scale soul beast blood, Buddha heart soul grass, Dala soul tiller branch, 8 return Brahma soul fruit, sea mountain soul lily, shooting sun soul pacifying tree bark." Next, Mo Qingyun methodically described the names of the ingredients for the creation godly soul pill to the sloppy old man word for word. As Mo Qingyun continued to describe the ingredients, the sloppy old man's expression became more and more shocked. His eyes were filled with disbelief. At this moment, he was certain that Mo Qingyun indeed knew the pill formula for the creation godly soul pill. "All right, you don't have to say any more. I believe you." At this moment, before Mo Qingyun could finish, the sloppy old man interrupted him and said in disbelief, "Kid, I didn't expect you to know the pill formula for the creation godly soul pill at such a young age. Tell me, who is your master?" "Elder, I don't have a master. I just like to read a lot of books." When he heard the sloppy old man's words, Mo Qingyun revealed a humble expression and replied, dodging the old man's question, "You don't have a master?" When he heard Mo Qingyun's words, the sloppy old man's face immediately became wild with joy. He looked at Mo Qingyun and said excitedly, "You don't have a master in alchemy, but you have such attainments in alchemy. Kid, you are an unparalleled genius in alchemy." An unparalleled genius in alchemy. When they heard the sloppy old man's words, the surrounding people's expressions changed. They looked at Mo Qingyun with a different expression. To be praised by an 8th grade alchemy emperor was enough to show how extraordinary Mo Qingyun was. I didn't expect Qingyun's alchemy talent to reach such a level. At this moment, Feng Huaid and the others were overjoyed, and their expressions became somewhat excited. At this moment, Mo Qingyun's performance once again broke their understanding of Mo Qingyun. "It's good that you don't have a master. It's good that you don't have a master." At this moment, while everyone revealed shocked expressions, the slovenly old man revealed a sly expression. He looked at Mo Qingyun and said with a mischievous smile, "Little fellow, from now on, you have a master. From this moment on, you are the personal disciple of the rank 8 pill emperor, Ho Shihua. From now on, you are the personal disciple of the 8th grade alchemy emperor, Ho Shihua." When they heard the sloppy old man's words, the surrounding people felt dizzy. They felt that their brains were not enough to process it. In just a few minutes, Mo Qingyun was promoted from the alchemy emperor's child to the alchemy emperor's personal disciple. This speed of promotion was too fast. Then, everyone looked at Mo Qingyun with envy. To be valued by an 8th grade alchemy emperor, Mo Qingyun could be considered the first person, right? Mo Qing shook his head and revealed an expression of disbelief. He said to Hejilan, who was beside him, "Junior sister, pinch me. Let me see if I'm dreaming." When she heard Mo Qing's words, Hejilan was stunned. Her face was filled with confusion. It seemed that she was also shocked by the scene in front of her. For a moment, she was unable to regain her senses. The Supreme Elder is indeed a person of great talent. When they saw that the sloppy old man wanted Mo Qingyun to be his personal disciple, an elder of the Mao Fu sect revealed a happy expression. He sighed and said, "Qingyun has just arrived in the Myriad World City, and he is already valued by an alchemy emperor. It seems that this Myriad Talisman Immortal Gathering will be the time for him to soar into the heavens." That's right. Chapter 626. Brother Ho, you want to accept this young man as your personal disciple. Hearing Ho Shihua's words, the shopkeeper's head buzzed. He felt that his thoughts were not enough. He had just rejected Mo Qingyun as a servant. Now, He wanted to accept him as his personal disciple. This was too incomprehensible. Of course, while the shopkeeper was shocked, he also knew that Mo Qingyun was valued so highly by the sloppy old man. This meant that Mo Qingyun was indeed outstanding. Otherwise, with the sloppy old man's personality, he would not accept him as a disciple so easily. Congratulations, Brother Ho, for accepting such an outstanding disciple. After thinking about this, the shopkeeper smiled faintly and congratulated the sloppy old man. However, before the shopkeeper could finish his words, Mo Qingyun's next words stunned everyone. Senior, isn't it too hasty for you to accept a junior as your personal disciple? When Mo Qingyun heard Ho Shihua's words, he revealed a bitter smile and helplessly said to the sloppy old man, "Don't worry." Judging from the old man's actions, it seemed that he was determined to stop him from participating in the 10,000 Talismans immortal gathering. A grade 8 pill emperor wanted to accept Mo Qingyun as his personal disciple. Mo Qingyun was actually unwilling. Seeing Mo Qingyun's current behavior, everyone was stunned. Their eyes widened and they stood rooted to the ground. Silence. At this moment, the hotel was completely silent. However, after a short moment of silence, the hotel burst into an uproar. Damn, I can't take it anymore. This kid doesn't know how to cherish the opportunity. That's a grade 8 pill emperor. Why is there such a huge gap between people? If a grade 8 pill emperor wanted to accept me as his personal disciple, I would also be willing. Senior, he's unwilling, but I'm willing. Why don't you accept me as your personal disciple? I don't want to be your personal disciple. Senior, you can accept me as your personal disciple. In an instant, all sorts of wailing sounds could be heard from the surroundings. This young man's way of doing things is really different from ordinary people. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, the shopkeeper was also stunned. He was very surprised by Mo Qingyun's reaction. In his opinion, Mo Qingyun should be crying tears of joy when he heard that Ho Shihua wanted to take him in as his personal disciple. He should be so excited that he didn't know what to do. But what about Mo Qingyun? His expression was extremely calm. It was as if the person who had accepted him as a disciple was not an 8th grade pill emperor, but an alchemy apprentice. Not everyone can so easily reject a grade 8 pill emperor's offer to be his disciple. After a brief moment of silence, a faint smile appeared on the shopkeeper's face. He looked at Mo Qingyun and nodded his head in appreciation, secretly saying, "It seems like this little fellow is not simple. If he successfully grows up, his future will be unpredictable. You're still not willing?" Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, the sloppy old man's expression was also stunned. He was very surprised by Mo Qingyun's reply. However, after a brief moment of shock, Ho Shihua laughed loudly and praised. To be able to so easily reject a grade 8 pill emperor's offer to be his disciple, this shows that your state of mind is very tenacious. It is very suitable for you to study alchemy. If this is the case, this old man will not let you go. Looking at Mo Qingyun with admiration, the sloppy old man Ho Shihua revealed a crafty expression and said with a naughty smile, "Little fellow, the more unwilling you are to be this old man's disciple, the more I want to take you in as my disciple. This old man will definitely take you in as my disciple." After the old man finished speaking, he raised his hand and grabbed Mo Qingyun's shoulder. He laughed loudly. "Good disciple, you should follow your master to refine pills." Then, Mo Qingyun was forcefully taken away by the sloppy old man. After seeing this scene, everyone was speechless. Their expressions became incomparably complicated. A grade 8 pill emperor whose strength was comparable to a peak 7 seals expert actually wanted to forcefully take someone in as his disciple. When did becoming a pill emperor's disciple become so easy? When did a grade 8 pill emperor reach the point where he could not take in disciples? At this moment, other than envy for Mo Qingyun, there was only envy for Mo Qingyun left in everyone's heart. Damn, why can't I encounter such a good thing? Based on this, I'm afraid that even an alchemy apprentice would not take you in as a disciple. Didn't you see that little fellow's knowledge of alchemy? Yeah, that little fellow's knowledge of alchemy far surpasses ordinary people. He is definitely a rare talent in alchemy. He could clearly rely on alchemy to survive, but he insisted on participating in the 10,000 Talismans immortal gathering. Does he want others to live? In an instant, the inn was filled with howls of grief again. Everyone, please go and rest first. I will go and take a look at that little brother. Seeing that Ho Shihua forcefully took Mo Qingyun away, the shopkeeper did not know whether to laugh or cry. He turned to Feng Huai and the rest and said, "If that's the case, we will impose on you, senior." Hearing the shopkeeper's words, Feng Huai and the rest were filled with respect as they replied to the shopkeeper. They knew very well that the shopkeeper was being so courteous to them because of Mo Qingyun's face. Therefore, he knew that he could not treat himself as an outsider and not treat himself as an outsider. Following that, the Supreme Elder and the rest were led to the inn's guest room by the waiter. After giving instructions to the shopkeeper and the rest, the shopkeeper did not hesitate and immediately went to pill Emperor Ho Shihua's place. In a short while, Mo Qingyun was held hostage by Ho Shihua and arrived at a quiet courtyard at the back of the inn. Mo Qingyun could only smile bitterly at this. He really did not expect Ho Shihua to do such a thing. However, although Mo Qingyun was surprised by Ho Shihua's actions, he did not resist it too much. To him, it was not a bad thing to have a pill emperor as a master who was comparable to a peak Seven Seals expert. In this case, he could rely on more people to do things in the city of 10,000 worlds. At this moment, when Mo Qingyun and Feng Huai arrived at the small courtyard, the shopkeeper also followed closely behind them. When they arrived at the small courtyard, the shopkeeper smiled faintly and said to Mo Qingyun, "Little brother, congratulations on becoming a master." "Ha!" Hearing the shopkeeper's words, Mo Qingyun immediately smiled and shook his head helplessly. He took out the pill refining ingredients and said, "Senior, the pill refining ingredients are all here. Let's start refining the Universal Divine Soul Transformation Pill." Ho Shihua smiled proudly when he saw Mo Qingyun's expression. He laughed loudly and said, "Good disciple, you don't need to feel so wronged. As long as you spend more time with Master, you will discover Master's good points. As long as you spend more time with me, you will discover my good points." Hearing Ho Shihua's words, Mo Qingyun and the shopkeeper were stunned. They shook their heads and smiled bitterly. Hearing Ho Shihua's words, it felt as if a bandit had kidnapped an innocent woman and was about to force himself on her. "Hey, this is the purple treasure essence fruit." Chapter 6:27. That's right. In the recipe for the creation universe godly soul elixir, there is no such ingredient as the purple treasure essence fruit. Hearing Ho Shihua's words, Mo Qingyun nodded his head solemnly and replied, "However, there are too many ingredients for the creation universe godly soul elixir. As a result, the rejection between the elixirs is much greater. Without the alchemy master's ability to control the elixir, it would be very difficult to maintain the stability of these elixirs. This would then lead to an increased chance of failure." After replying to Ho Shihua, Mo Qingyun continued, "Even though the purple treasure essence fruit is not an extremely precious ingredient, it contains the morning sun purple qi. It has a type of recuperation and fusion effect. Adding it to the ingredients can increase the fusion of various elixirs and thus increase the success rate of the elixir refinement." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Ho Shihua was immediately stunned. He looked at Mo Qingyun in shock. He found it hard to believe that a 20-year-old youth would be so familiar with the properties of various elixirs. If he had not seen this scene with his own eyes, even if he was beaten to death, he would not have believed it. So that's how it is. After being stunned for a short while, Ho Shihua's expression became excited, and he said in disbelief, "This kid actually thought of adding new ingredients to the recipe of an alchemy master to increase the stability of the elixir during the elixir refinement process. This kind of bold innovation can be said to be unheard of and unheard of." After saying this shocking sentence, Ho Shihhua's expression became excited, and he said with a face full of ecstasy, "Ha! This time I have struck gold. I actually accepted such a genius disciple." Hearing Ho Shihhua's words, the shopkeeper to the side was also shocked. He nervously asked Ho Shihhua, "Brother Ho, could it be that what this little brother said just now was all true?" From Ho Shihhua's expression, the shopkeeper had already guessed that Mo Qingyun's words should be correct. However, he could not help but ask. He wanted to get Ho Shihhua's personal confirmation. After all, this was too unbelievable. A youth who looked no more than 20 years old actually had such profound knowledge of elixir refinement. This was too abnormal. That's right. What this kid said just now is completely correct. His familiarity with alchemy ingredients may have already surpassed mine. Hearing the shopkeeper's words, Ho Shihhua nodded solemnly and sighed. If I'm not mistaken, his familiarity with various alchemy ingredients has already surpassed mine. Hiss! Hearing Ho Shihhua's words, the shopkeeper immediately sucked in a breath of cold air, his expression becoming even more shocked. A young man in his 20s was actually able to make a Tier 8 pill emperor accept him wholeheartedly. What kind of ability was this? The shopkeeper didn't know how to describe it. It's a pity that his age is limited. On the other hand, his cultivation is limited, making him unable to concoct high-grade pills. At this moment, Ho Shihhua had a look of pity on his face. He sighed and said solemnly, "Otherwise, the success rate of refining the myriad creation godly soul pill might be higher if he was the one refining it." Hiss! Hearing Ho Shihhua's words, the shopkeeper couldn't help sucking in a breath of cold air again. The expression on his face became even more shocked. At this moment, he finally understood how terrifying Mo Qingyun's alchemy talent was. At this moment, he also understood why Ho Shihhua, an Tier 8 pill emperor, insisted on taking Mo Qingyun as his disciple. As long as one wasn't a fool, one wouldn't let such a disciple go like this. With this kid's talent, if this old man nurtures him wholeheartedly, his future achievements will definitely surpass mine. Looking at Mo Qingyun in front of him, Ho Shihhua was pleasantly surprised. His eyes revealed an intense look. He really hoped to see Mo Qingyun become famous one day and become a famous pill venerate. Surpass you? Hearing Ho Shihhua's words, the shopkeeper's expression immediately twitched. He felt his head buzzing. Ho Shihhua's alchemy skills had already reached the level of a Tier 8 pill emperor. If Mo Qingyun surpassed him, wouldn't he reach the level of a Tier 9 pill emperor? Or even pill venerate? Pill venerate. As soon as this word appeared in the shopkeeper's mind, his body immediately trembled. A lingering fear rose in his heart. Because of the actions of the waiter, Xie Zhongyun, he had almost offended a terrifying existence who had the potential to become a pill venerate. When he thought about how Mo Qingyun would become a pill venerate in the future and lead a large group of experts to take revenge on him, he felt a lingering fear in his heart. At this moment, the shopkeeper finally understood the seriousness of Mo Qingyun's words. If what Mo Qingyun said was true, then what awaited him in the future would definitely be a disaster. That damned Xie Zhongyun. He almost caused me to be in trouble. After thinking about this, the shopkeeper immediately felt a strong hatred for the waiter, Xie Zhongyun. Since that's the case, let's start the alchemy now. After calming down the excitement in his heart, Ho Shihhua revealed a bright smile. He waved at Mo Qingyun and said, "Good disciple, there shouldn't be any problem for you to purify these herbs, right?" "No problem." In response to Ho Shihhua's request, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and nodded. He agreed without hesitation. Mo Qingyun was very clear about Ho Shihhua's thoughts. Ho Shihhua was testing his alchemy ability. Since he understood Ho Shihhua's thoughts, Mo Qingyun no longer held back. He immediately displayed various alchemy techniques. In Mo Qingyun's opinion, the better the talent he displayed, the more Ho Shihhua would value him, and the more beneficial it would be for him. Carp leaping over Dragon Gate hand. 100 birds vying for Song hand. Divine Beast Cauldron hand. In an instant, All kinds of alchemy techniques were displayed by Mo Qingyun smoothly and fluidly. Looking at Mo Qingyun's constantly changing alchemy techniques, the shopkeeper immediately felt dazzled. He looked at Ho Shihua in shock and asked, "Brother Ho, this little brother's alchemy level, at least a mid-tier pill king." Hearing the shopkeeper's words, Ho Shihua revealed a surprised expression. He said excitedly, "It seems that I have underestimated his potential. His future alchemy achievements may not be just a pill venerate. Not just a pill venerate." The shopkeeper's heart immediately trembled. Cold sweat broke out on his back. He was truly shocked by Ho Shihua's words. A person who surpassed a pill venerate. What kind of existence was this? The shopkeeper didn't know. What kind of monster did I meet? After calming down the shock in his heart, the shopkeeper revealed a look of lingering fear and said with a smile of relief, "Fortunately, he doesn't hold a grudge against me. Otherwise, as he said, if he were to seek revenge on me, would I be able to withstand it?" Chapter 628. Senior, open the cauldron. At this moment, the shopkeeper's face was filled with shock. Mo Qingyun had a serious expression as he warned Ho Shihua. "Okay." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Ho Shihua did not hesitate and immediately sent a flame into the cauldron in front of him. Bang! Once the flame entered the cauldron, it exploded with a dull sound and began to burn inside the cauldron. Carp leaping over dragon hand. Upon seeing this, Mo Qingyun changed his hand gesture. He pointed at a red medicinal liquid and sent it into Ho Shihua's pill cauldron. With Mo Qingyun's touch, the red medicinal liquid entered the cauldron one after another like carps. Seeing the medicinal liquid enter the cauldron, Ho Shihua's expression immediately turned serious, and he quickly formed a hand seal. Following this hand seal, the shadow of a flaming tiger dashed into the cauldron. Roar! Once the flaming tiger entered the cauldron, it opened its mouth and roared, swallowing the medicinal liquid in the cauldron. Flaming tiger swallowing sky hand. Seeing this, Mo Qingyun's expression immediately froze, and he hurriedly said to Ho Shihua, "Senior, the meteor explosion grass's medicinal properties are violent. You can't use the flaming tiger swallowing sky hand to forcefully suppress its violent medicinal properties. Otherwise, its violent medicinal properties will explode when the pill is fused later." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Ho Shihua's expression immediately changed, and he looked at Mo Qingyun in shock. He could not believe that Mo Qingyun actually knew what was going to happen to the meteor explosion grass. At this moment, Mo Qingyun's words really shocked Ho Shihua. Under normal circumstances, even if an elixir king was watching him while refining the creation Godly Soul elixir, he might not be able to see the changes in the meteor explosion grass. However, Mo Qingyun was able to predict what was going to happen just by looking at his refining technique. This kind of eyesight and deduction ability was too frightening. Then what kind of refining technique should I use? At this moment, Ho Shihua was like a child asking for guidance as he asked Mo Qingyun for advice. Hearing Ho Shihua's question, Mo Qingyun did not try to hide anything. With a grave expression, he said, "Use the Taiji Force neutralizing hand. That way, you can weaken and neutralize the berserk medicinal energy of the meteor flame burst grass." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Ho Shihua no longer hesitated and immediately sent a hand seal into the cauldron. The cauldron. Immediately, the flaming tiger seal turned into a rotating Taiji diagram hand seal. Under the rotation of the Taiji diagram, the violent scarlet flame medicinal liquid within the pill cauldron slowly calmed down. It's actually really work. Seeing this scene, Ho Shihua was immediately shocked. He looked at Mo Qingyun in disbelief. And Ho Shihua's, and split, and split. Split, Ho Shihua's, and split, and split, and split quickly split. Mo Qingyun divided the purple medicinal liquid into many parts and gently tapped one of them, sending it into the pill cauldron. After sending the purple liquid into the cauldron, Mo Qingyun sent a blue liquid into Ho Shihua's cauldron. Then, a scene that shocked Ho Shihua happened before his eyes. When the purple and blue medicinal liquids entered the pill cauldron, they slowly merged with the red medicinal liquid without any signs of rejection. How is this possible? Ho Shihua's eyes opened wide when he saw this scene, and he revealed an expression of disbelief as he said in shock, "This meteor rupture grass is a fire attribute medicinal material, whereas the Laha mermaid fruit is a water attribute medicinal material. How could water and fire attribute medicinal materials possibly merge so perfectly?" At this moment, Ho Shihua felt that his understanding of alchemy had been completely shattered by Mo Qingyun. Water and fire mutually reinforce each other. Senior, what you said before was only the mutual suppression of water and fire. Actually, there's also a mutual reinforcement between water and fire. In response to Ho Shihua's confusion, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and explained, "The meteor explosion grass's violent medicinal properties have been neutralized by the yin and yang neutralizing force. Therefore, its medicinal properties have calmed down and can be absorbed by the water attribute, the mermaid fruit. With the help of the purple treasure tree fruit, they will fuse together even more harmoniously." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Ho Shihua was shocked. Understanding flashed across his eyes. He said in surprise, "So what I have been unable to understand is the mutual reinforcement and suppression of medicinal properties." After a brief moment of surprise, Ho Shihua no longer hesitated. He immediately said to Mo Qingyun, "Qingyun, you lead the alchemy. I will coordinate with you." At this moment, Ho Shihua was like a thirsty student who wanted to learn from his teacher. "Qingyun, you lead the alchemy. I will coordinate with you." Seeing this scene, the shopkeeper at the side was stunned. He could not believe this was real. With Ho Shihua's status as an 8th grade pill emperor, he was actually willing to coordinate with Mo Qingyun. This was too unbelievable. If he did not see this scene with his own eyes, he would not believe it even if he was beaten to death. Okay. Hearing Ho Shihua's words, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate. He nodded and agreed to Ho Shihua's suggestion. He said in a deep voice, "Senior, let's perform soul grafting. This way, we will have better coordination." After Mo Qingyun finished speaking, he formed a strange hand seal and flew towards Ho Shihua. Seeing the hand seal flying towards him, Ho Shihua did not hesitate. He immediately formed a hand seal and merged it with Mo Qingyun's hand seal. When the two hand seals merged, they shone brightly. In the end, they turned into two balls of light and flew towards Mo Qingyun and Ho Shihua's heads. After Mo Qingyun and Ho Shihua's soul grafting was completed, Mo Qingyun felt his spiritual strength increase by more than 1,000 times in an instant. Seeing Mo Qingyun's spiritual strength increase, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate. He immediately began to refine the universal soul transformation pill. Because he was doing it himself, Mo Qingyun's next actions were undoubtedly more practiced. When the conditions were right, success would come naturally. Seeing Mo Qingyun's smooth movements, Ho Shihua was even more shocked. The way he looked at Mo Qingyun changed. At this moment, a strange feeling rose in his heart. He felt as if he had returned to the time when he first learned alchemy. The Mo Qingyun in front of him was the alchemy senior who taught him alchemy. After this discovery, Ho Shihua's heart immediately became even more shocked. He could not believe this feeling. However, although he was extremely excited, Ho Shihua was still fully focused. He coordinated with Mo Qingyun's every move. Seeing Ho Shihua's actions, the shopkeeper's expression also became serious, and a strong wave of shock rose in his heart. Chapter 629. Time passed bit by bit as Ho Shihua and the shopkeeper were still in shock. After a few hours, a pill fragrance wafted out of the cauldron and filled the entire room. The creation of the universal godly soul elixir was a success. It's done. After seeing this scene, Ho Shihua and the shopkeeper were pleasantly surprised, and their expressions became somewhat excited. However, while the two of them were still in shock, Mo Qingyun formed a strange hand seal. As soon as the hand seal was formed, dark clouds gathered in the sky above the small courtyard, and lightning bolts flashed. This is lightning tribulation. The shopkeeper was shocked when he saw this. He looked at Mo Qingyun in disbelief. Mo Qingyun's hand seal had attracted the lightning tribulation. This was too awesome. Lightning tempering one hand seal. Is he going to let the creation of the universal, godly soul, elixir undergo the pill tribulation? Seeing Mo Qingyun's actions, Ho Shihua's face immediately revealed a shocked expression. He was greatly shocked by the scene before him. Under normal circumstances, the higher the grade of the elixir, the more likely it was that there would be no lightning tribulation. However, Mo Qingyun was doing it now. He had actually used the lightning attracting technique to let the elixir experience the lightning tribulation without encountering any lightning tribulation. Although the quality of the elixir would increase after experiencing the lightning tribulation, it could also be destroyed by the lightning tribulation. It would be a pity if such a precious elixir was destroyed because of the pill tribulation. At this moment, Ho Shihua and the shopkeeper's expressions were extremely grave as they watched the continuously gathering tribulation lightning. Mo Qingyun lifted his hand and opened the cauldron when he saw the lightning tribulation gathering in the sky. As the cauldron lid was opened, the creation of a universal, godly soul elixir in the cauldron flew into the sky. Boom! As the creation of the universal, godly soul elixir flew into the sky, a lightning tribulation descended from the lightning tribulation and struck the creation of the universal, godly soul elixir. When the lightning tribulation struck the creation of the universal, godly soul elixir, it immediately emitted a blinding silver light that enveloped the entire creation of the universal, godly soul elixir. When they saw this, Ho Shihua and the shopkeeper's expressions became tense. They were afraid that the pills would not be able to withstand the power of the tribulation lightning. After a few breaths of time, the two shopkeepers' complexions turned for the better, and a look of pleasant surprise gradually appeared on their faces. The myriad creation divine soul pill had successfully passed the pill tribulation. However, before the smile on his face could completely appear, the smiles on their faces instantly froze. This was because they saw Mo Qingyun forming another lightning summoning hand seal, planning to summon the tribulation lightning again. At this moment, Ho Shihua and the shopkeepers' bodies trembled, and they looked like they were about to go crazy. This was a pill that was close to the honorable grade. It was not an ordinary low-grade pill. It was too crazy to continuously attract lightning to attack it. Boom! Just as Ho Shihua and Jian Wushuang's faces were filled with bitterness, a bolt of tribulation lightning struck the universal creation godly soul pill forcefully, erupting with resplendent light. Seeing this light erupt, Ho Shihua's heart instantly rose to their throats, and sweat involuntarily appeared on their foreheads. Even with their cultivations, they were so nervous that their foreheads were covered in sweat. One could imagine how nervous they were. After a short while, the pill appeared in front of them again, and its medicinal efficacy was much purer than before. Seeing this, the shopkeeper's face was immediately filled with joy, and his heart instantly raced. The medicinal efficacy of the second tribulation universal creation godly soul pill was infinitely close to that of an honorable grade pill. Of course, while he was excited, the shopkeeper also grabbed Mo Qingyun's hand to stop him. He said nervously, "Young man, the second tribulation universal creation godly soul pill is enough. My little heart can't take it anymore." That's a pity. With the pill's purity, there's hope for it to withstand 4 bolts of tribulation lightning. Hearing the shopkeeper's words, Mo Qingyun looked a little disappointed. He said plainly, "It only withstood 2 bolts of tribulation lightning. It's a pity that it's a second tribulation royal grade top level pill. For bolts of tribulation lightning." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Ho Shihua's heart skipped a beat, and their expressions involuntarily twitched. It's too crazy. Mo Qingyun actually wanted the universal creation godly soul pill to withstand 4-pill tribulations. At this moment, Ho Shihua and Ho Shihua couldn't help but admire Mo Qingyun. He was too bold. This should be the so-called boldness of the skilled. No wonder I've been stuck at the 8th grade pill emperor, unable to break through. Seeing Mo Qingyun's performance, Ho Shihua looked ashamed and sighed. Compared to this kid, my method of refining pills is too conservative. Perhaps only someone as bold as him can continue to break through. Hearing Ho Shihua's words, the shopkeeper at the side immediately agreed with Ho Shihua's words. Although Mo Qingyun's actions had made him nervous, he couldn't deny that Mo Qingyun's state of mind was far stronger than theirs. At this moment, while the shopkeeper was sighing, Ho Shihua's expression changed as he looked at Mo Qingyun. He smiled slyly and said, "Kid, I know you don't want to be my disciple, right? If that's the case, I won't make things difficult for you." "Brother Ho, what are you?" Hearing Ho Shihua's words, the shopkeeper's expression froze, revealing a puzzled expression. In his opinion, after seeing Mo Qingyun's talent in alchemy, Ho Shihua should be more fond of him and shouldn't give up on taking Mo Qingyun as his disciple. However, when the shopkeeper's words fell, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "I also know that with my alchemy skills, I really can't teach a genius like you." Ho Shihua pretended to be ashamed as he lamented to Mo Qingyun. He smiled mischievously and said, "However, my master, Honorable Pill Master Baohua, is qualified to teach you. Now, I will accept you as my disciple on behalf of my master. From now on, you will be my junior brother." "Junior brother?" Hearing Mo Qingyun and Ho Shihua's words, Mo Qingyun and the shopkeeper were both stunned. They were confused by Ho Shihua's actions. "Brother Ho, what are you trying to do?" Hearing Ho Shihua's words, the shopkeeper's face was filled with confusion, and he asked Ho Shihua, "My master has been missing for many years, which has caused my alchemy skills to stagnate for so many years." Seeing the shopkeeper's puzzled look, Ho Shihua smiled mischievously and replied in a low voice, "This little brat's understanding of the Tao of alchemy has simply opened a new window for me. How could I let go of this opportunity to improve my alchemy ability so easily? But you can't accept him as your junior brother." The shopkeeper was still confused. "Brother Liu, you don't know this. If I accept him as my disciple, as his master, how can I ask my disciple for advice?" Chapter 630. Hearing Ho Shihua's words, the shopkeeper's expression froze. He was stunned by Ho Shihua's logic. However, what made him feel helpless was that he couldn't refute Ho Shihua. Although Ho Shihua's words were a little vulgar, the shopkeeper couldn't help but admit that his thinking was very correct. "Brother Liu, junior brother, just now, I had some enlightenment while refining pills. I have decided to go into seclusion immediately." Ho Shihua's face was filled with excitement as he spoke to Mo Qingyun and the other man. Then, a mischievous smile appeared on his face as he said to Mo Qingyun, "Junior brother, when I come out of seclusion, I will continue to discuss the art of refining pills with you." As Ho Shihua's words fell, his figure flashed and disappeared from the spot. He didn't even give Mo Qingyun a chance to speak. Seeing Ho Shihua's actions, Mo Qingyun bitterly smiled and shook his head. He was speechless at Ho Shihua's actions. "Little brother, thanks to your help, I was able to obtain a second tribulation creation divine soul elixir. I sincerely express my gratitude." Seeing that Ho Shihua had left, the shopkeeper smiled at Mo Qingyun. He took out a Chinquin bag and handed it to Mo Qingyun, saying, "There are 50 billion origin spirit stones inside. Take it as my thanks for taking out the ingredients for refining pills and for helping me refine the pills." As the shopkeeper's words fell, he didn't wait for Mo Qingyun to refuse and handed the Chinquin bag to Mo Qingyun. After handing the Chinquin bag to Mo Qingyun, the shopkeeper took out a jade talisman and handed it to Mo Qingyun, saying, "I have left a spiritual imprint in this jade talisman. If you encounter any danger, You can crush it, and I will immediately come to your aid. Of course, I hope that you will never have to use this jade talisman. If that's the case, thank you, Senior. Receiving the Chinquin bag and jade talisman from the shopkeeper's hands, Imo Qingyun thanked him. Hee, there's no need to be so polite. The shopkeeper waved his hand at Imo Qingyun and smiled. It's rare that you and I hit it off so well. I, Lu Fengqi, am a few years older than you. How about we become sworn brothers? How old are you? Why don't we become sworn brothers? Hearing the shopkeeper's words, Imo Qingyun's expression froze. For a moment, he felt that his brain wasn't working properly. Judging from the appearance of this shopkeeper, this old man had lived for at least a few hundred years. How many years older was this compared to Imo Qingyun? Of course, although Imo Qingyun was surprised by the shopkeeper's words, he did not reject the idea of becoming sworn brothers with him. Imo Qingyun knew very well that once Lu Feng refined the universal creation divine soul elixir, his cultivation would reach the 8th seal talisman venerable realm. An expert comparable to a supreme being wanted to become sworn brothers with him. How could Imo Qingyun refuse such a good thing? If that's the case, I'll do as Big Brother Lu says. Imo Qingyun smiled faintly and nodded at Lu Feng, agreeing to Lu Feng's suggestion. Immediately after, Imo Qingyun and Lu Feng began the ceremony of becoming sworn brothers. Second brother, after talking with you for so long, I still don't know what your name is. After completing the ceremony of becoming sworn brothers with Imo Qingyun, Lu Feng smiled faintly and asked Imo Qingyun. Imo Qingyun. Imo Qingyun's expression turned solemn, and he replied to the shopkeeper. Pingbu Qingyun. Qingyun. Good name. Lu Feng laughed and praised Imo Qingyun. Then, he revealed an impatient expression and said eagerly, Second brother, now that the universal creation divine soul elixir has been refined, I'll go and refine it first. After I've refined the universal creation divine soul elixir, I'll take my time with you. All right, please go ahead, big brother. Hearing Lu Feng's words, Imo Qingyun smiled faintly and nodded. I've used up a lot of my spiritual strength during the past few days of refining pills. I'll go and cultivate to recover. If that's the case, we'll talk about it after we've finished our secluded cultivation. At that time, we can bring Brother Ho with us. When he heard Imo Qingyun's words, Lu Feng nodded and expressed his agreement before leaving the small courtyard. Seeing that the two had left, Imo Qingyun didn't think too much about it and started to cultivate in the small courtyard. Imo Qingyun spent the rest of the time cultivating and recovering. 2 days later, peak of the initial stage of the sky spirit realm. At this moment, Imo Qingyun, who was cultivating, opened his eyes in pleasant surprise. He said happily, I didn't think that helping Big Brother Lu refine pills this time would actually allow my spiritual strength to increase by quite a bit. It's already been 2 days. I wonder how the esteemed elders and the others are doing. Thinking about Feng Huide and the others in the hotel room, Imo Qingyun didn't hesitate and immediately went to their room. Not long after, Imo Qingyun left the small courtyard and arrived at the hotel's main hall. Coincidentally, just as Imo Qingyun entered the hotel's main hall, he saw Feng Huide and the others. Seeing this, Imo Qingyun smiled faintly and slowly walked towards them. Qingyun, is that senior done refining the pills? Seeing Imo Qingyun approaching, Feng Huide revealed a nervous expression and asked Imo Qingyun. He was a little worried that Imo Qingyun hadn't succeeded in refining the pills for the 2 shopkeepers. After all, the 2 shopkeepers were experts at the peak of the 7th seal realm. If they were displeased, it would be troublesome. Yes, it's done. Hearing this, Imo Qingyun smiled faintly at the esteemed elders, indicating that they didn't need to worry. Come, let's sit down first. Hearing Imo Qingyun's words, the esteemed elders relaxed and gestured for Imo Qingyun to sit down beside them. Hearing this, Imo Qingyun hesitated and sat down beside the esteemed elders. At this moment, just as Imo Qingyun sat down, he heard the conversation at the table beside him. Have you heard? The reward for the champion of this year's 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering is the legendary Ancient World Crossing Stone. What? The reward for the champion of this year's 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering is the Ancient World Crossing Stone that can help one comprehend the power of law. I've heard about this too. It's said that the prodigies of the Five Absolute sect have already announced that they are determined to get the Ancient World Crossing Stone. Word for word, the conversation at the table beside him entered Mo Qingyun's ears. Ancient World Crossing Stone. Hearing this, Mo Qingyun's expression changed, and he said in surprise, I didn't expect the reward for the champion of this year's 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering to be the Ancient World Crossing Stone. In that case, I must get the champion of this year's 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering. At this moment, Mo Qingyun made a decision in his heart. At this moment, just as Mo Qingyun was making a decision, the conversation at the table beside him was heard again. Oh yes, did you guys go to the Treasure Mirror Peak to test your talents? No, we went there with our talents. What's the result? Didn't everyone laugh at us? Just now on the Treasure Mirror Peak, I saw someone get the recognition of the Treasure Mirror of Heaven and Earth and obtain a mystic skill. Is that true? To be able to get the recognition of the Treasure Mirror of Heaven and Earth, his talent should be at least 200, right? When the crowd mentioned the Treasure Mirror of Heaven and Earth, their expressions became interesting. Treasure Mirror of Heaven and Earth? Chapter 631. Junior Brother Mo, I heard them talking about the Heaven and Earth Treasure Mirror. It seems interesting. Why don't I go take a look? At this moment, while Mo Qingyun's heart was filled with anticipation, Hejilan beside him revealed an excited expression and suggested to him. All right. Hearing Hejilan's suggestion, Mo Qingyun nodded with a faint smile and decided to head to the Treasure Mirror Peak. After a while, Mo Qingyun and the rest arrived at the Treasure Mirror Peak. At this moment, the Treasure Mirror Peak was already packed with people. Everyone was filled with excitement as they stared at the high platform where the Heaven and Earth Treasure Mirror was placed. The Heaven and Earth Treasure Mirror on the high platform was emitting a dazzling light that shone on a young man. As the light from the Heaven and Earth Treasure Mirror shone on the young man, words started to appear on the Heaven and Earth Treasure Mirror. Bone age, 62 years, old soul strength. High grade cultivation, peak of 5 seals bloodline. None spiritual body, none talent value. 57 inches an instant. The young man's talent information appeared on the Heaven and Earth Treasure Mirror. After the young man's talent information appeared, the Heaven and Earth Treasure Mirror retracted its light and became silent. It seemed like the young man did not receive the recognition of the Heaven and Earth Treasure Mirror. Sigh. Seeing this, the young man was disappointed. He lowered his head and slowly walked down from the high platform. Scram to the side. When the young man walked down from the high platform, a domineering voice came from behind the crowd. Then, the crowd saw a group of arrogant young men rudely pushing aside the people in front of them and slowly walking towards the Heaven and Earth Treasure Mirror. Seeing the person in the middle of the group of young men, the surrounding people's faces twitched and they were filled with awe. Look, it's Yuan Ba from the Tyrannical Talisman sect. He is also here for the Heaven and Earth Treasure Mirror to test his talent. With Yuan Ba's talent, he should be able to receive the recognition of the Heaven and Earth Treasure Mirror. I wonder what his talent value is. In my opinion, Yuan Ba's talent value is definitely above 200. It might even reach 300. Seeing the young man in the golden robe, who was surrounded by the crowd, the surrounding people were filled with awe and they whispered to each other. Hearing the surrounding people's words, Yuan Ba's expression became even more arrogant. Tyrant Talisman Sex Genius? Hearing the words of the people around him, Mo Qingyun turned his gaze towards the golden-robed youth. Yuan Ba arrogantly raised his head and revealed an insufferably arrogant expression as he walked up the high platform under the gaze of all the stars surrounding him. Yuan Ba walked up to the high platform and walked towards the front of the Heaven and Earth Treasure Mirror. He entered the area illuminated by the Heaven and Earth Treasure Mirror. Bang! As Yuan Ba walked into the area illuminated by the mirror of heaven and earth, the mirror of heaven and earth trembled and emitted an intense light that shone on Yuan Ba. Then, words slowly appeared on the heaven and earth treasure mirror. Bone age, 40 years old. Soul strength, perfect. Cultivation, half a step into the seventh seal. Bloodline, none. Spirit body, none. Talent value, 350. Under the illumination of the mirror of heaven and earth, Yuan Ba's various talents were displayed one by one. At the same time, the mirror of heaven and earth shone brightly again and started to vibrate rapidly. After discovering this, everyone's expressions changed greatly. Intense shock appeared on their faces. Yuan Ba had obtained the approval of the heaven and earth treasure mirror. Yuan Ba's talent is so strong. It has actually reached 350. Yuan Ba has indeed obtained the recognition of the mirror of heaven and earth. I wonder what kind of mystic art he will obtain. Yuan Ba's strength has always been strong. Now that he has obtained the recognition of the mirror of heaven and earth and obtained a powerful mystic art, I'm afraid he won't have many opponents in the future. From the looks of it, Yuan Ba's chances of becoming the champion of the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering have reached 70%. Seeing that Yuan Ba had obtained the recognition of the mirror of heaven and earth, the surrounding people were filled with envy and respect. Then, everyone looked at Yuan Ba, who was shrouded in the light of the mirror of heaven and earth, with envy and respect. A few minutes later, Yuan Ba, who was shrouded in the light of the mirror of heaven and earth, opened his eyes in surprise. The moment Yuan Ba opened his eyes, his face was filled with ecstasy. He said excitedly, "I, Yuan Ba, have obtained this mystic art. The champion of this year's 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering will definitely be me." Hearing Yuan Ba's words, everyone was stunned. They looked at Yuan Ba with even more respect. However, just as everyone was in awe of Yuan Ba, a mocking voice sounded from the side. "Yuan Ba, don't be so full of yourself. Otherwise, you'll be slapped in the face if you don't get first place." It's the prodigy of the Shadow Talisman sect, Cho Jianfeng. Seeing the young man who was provoking Yuan Ba, the surrounding people's expressions changed. They also looked at him with respect. It's him. Seeing that the prodigy of the Shadow Talisman sect had appeared, Mo Qingyun frowned slightly. He was extremely shocked. This Cho Jianfeng was none other than the person who had appeared when Mo Qingyun activated the Shadow Message Talisman. So this Cho Jianfeng is the prodigy of the Shadow Talisman sect. No wonder he dares to be so arrogant and order Liang Heng and the rest to do things for him. After knowing Cho Jianfeng's identity, Mo Qingyun understood the reason behind it. "Yuan Ba, don't worry. The 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering will start tomorrow. We will naturally have a chance to fight." At this moment, when Yuan Ba and Cho Jianfeng were confronting each other, a faint smile was heard from behind the crowd. After hearing these words, everyone turned their gazes once again and looked towards the source of the voice. Then, two groups of arrogant young men appeared in front of the crowd one after another. It's the prodigy of the Sword Talisman sect, Zhu Jinlan, and the prodigy of the Elixir Talisman sect, Lu Chao. Seeing that the two groups of people had arrived, the surrounding people's expressions changed immediately. Their eyes were filled with respect. "Why? Do you guys want to fight with me too?" Seeing that the two people in front of him had arrived, Yuan Ba's expression became even colder. A strong fighting spirit exploded from his body. A bunch of idiots. At this moment, when Yuan Ba and the rest were confronting each other, a young man in black said disdainfully. The young man in black had a blood-red long saber on his back. There was an obvious scar on his face, and he exuded a cold aura. As soon as this young man appeared, the expressions of Yuan Ba and the others froze, and fear appeared on their faces. At this moment, Yuan Ba and the rest were not the only ones who looked at the young man in black. The surrounding people's expressions changed as well. That is the invincible blade of the Blade Talisman sect. It is said that he once single-handedly annihilated 10 quasi-7 seal sects in 3 days. I heard about it too. It is said that after the invincible blade annihilated those 10 sects, a terrifying killing intent gathered on his body. In the end, the killing intent ignited the scar on his face. Once he activates the killing intent within the scar, his strength will increase exponentially. Chapter 632. Invincible Blade did not care about the reaction of the crowd. Instead, he walked up the stage with a cold expression. After walking up the stage, Invincible Blade walked to the front of the heaven and earth treasure mirror and received its light. Bang! As Invincible Blade walked to the front of the heaven and earth treasure mirror, the mirror shone brightly and shone on Invincible Blade. Then, Invincible Blade's various talent attributes appeared on the heaven and earth treasure mirror. Bone Age, 36 Soul Strength, Perfect Cultivation, Peak of 6th Seal Bloodline, Pseudo-Massacre Bloodline Spiritual Body, None Talent Value, 340. At this moment, as Invincible Blade's talent value was revealed, the surrounding people's expressions changed drastically. Invincible Blade's talent value was 340 points, which was only 10 points less than Yuan Ba's. Not only that, but there was also a trace of bloodline power in Invincible Blade's body. In this way, Invincible Blade's true potential was not just on the surface. Talent value 340 points. Invincible Blade's talent is terrifying. It's only 10 points less than Yuan Ba's. Didn't you see that Invincible Blade still has bloodline power in his body? This is something that Yuan Ba does not have. Although it's only the pseudo-massacre bloodline power, it's enough to increase Invincible Blade's combat power by 10%. In this case, won't Invincible Blade's potential surpass Yuan Ba's? After seeing Invincible Blade's talent test result, everyone's expression changed drastically. They looked at Invincible Blade in awe. Just as everyone was looking at Invincible Blade in awe, the heaven and earth treasure mirror shone brightly again and emitted a ray of light that shrouded Invincible Blade. Then, everyone saw the scar on Invincible Blade's face fading slowly and finally disappearing. Not only that, as the scar on Invincible Blade's face disappeared, there were some changes to his talent information on the heaven and earth treasure mirror. The pseudo-massacre bloodline in Invincible Blade's body had become the true massacre bloodline power at this moment. Subsequently, the Invincible Blade's talent value began to increase from 340 to 360. Wow! After seeing this, everyone's expression changed drastically and revealed a look of shock. In this case, Invincible Blade's talent value had surpassed Yuan Ba's. Invincible Blade's bloodline power has been strengthened by the heaven and earth treasure and has become the true massacre bloodline. Talent value, 360. The Invincible Blade's talent value is so terrifying. It has surpassed Yuan Ba's talent value by 10 points. If nothing goes wrong, the champion of this 10,000 talisman immortal gathering will most likely fall into the hands of the Invincible Blade. The scar on Invincible Blade's face is gone. He looks so handsome now. I wonder what kind of woman he likes. For a moment, everyone was whispering to each other. As the power of the bloodline was perfected, the cold arrogance on Invincible Blade's face intensified. He looked at Yuan Ba with disdain and sneered. Yuan Ba, you are not qualified to fight for first place in the Myriad Talisman Immortal Gathering. At this moment, Invincible Blade's words were obviously filled with contempt and disdain. He did not put Yuan Ba in his eyes at all. After hearing Invincible Blade's words, Yuan Ba's expression immediately turned gloomy. He gritted his teeth and said, "Invincible Blade, don't think that you can be so arrogant just because you have the bloodline power. Until the last moment, only those who protect themselves will be the final winner. In any case, the winner of the 10,000 Talismans Immortal Meeting is definitely not you, Yuan Ba." Invincible Blade's eyes flashed with a wisp of bloody light. He licked his lips and revealed a bloodthirsty smile. This lunatic, looking at Invincible Blade's expression, Yuan Ba and the rest were stunned. They subconsciously took a few steps back. They had been secretly fighting with Invincible Blade for more than 10 years. They were very clear about Invincible Blade's behavior. Once Invincible Blade licked his lips, it meant that he was going to attack. He wanted to fight to the death with his opponent. Trash! Invincible Blade curled his lips in disdain when he saw Yuan Ba and the rest taking a few steps back. He looked at them with even more disdain. Invincible Blade glanced at Yuan Ba and the rest in disdain. He revealed a mocking expression and slowly walked down from the high platform. Thump, thump, thump. Seeing Invincible Blade walk to the front of the warm-up, the surrounding disciples were in awe. They all took a few steps back. Seeing Invincible Blade walking down from the high platform of the Universal Mirror, Chou Jianfeng did not hesitate and walked up to the high platform. Not long after, Chou Jianfeng came to the front of the Universal Mirror and was exposed to the light to assess his talent. Soon, Chou Jianfeng's various talent values were displayed on the Universal Mirror. Bone age, 43 years old. Soul strength, perfect cultivation, half step to 7 seals bloodline, none soul body, none talent value, 340. As Chou Jianfeng's talent value was displayed, the surrounding disciples looked at Chou Jianfeng in awe. From the looks of it, the geniuses of the Five Extremes sect were not ordinary geniuses. While everyone was looking at Chou Jianfeng in awe, the Universal Mirror shook again. It emitted a dazzling light that illuminated Chou Jianfeng. It seemed that Chou Jianfeng had also obtained the recognition of the Universal Mirror. After a while, Chou Jianfeng, who was standing in front of the Universal Mirror, revealed a cold smile. He looked at Yuan Ba and sneered. Yuan Ba, I will definitely break your Overlord Talisman in the Myriad Talisman Immortal Conference. After saying this provocative sentence to Yuan Ba, Chou Jianfeng sneered and walked down from the high platform slowly. You? Hearing Chou Jianfeng's words, Yuan Ba revealed a look of disdain and curled his lips at Chou Jianfeng. It seemed that Yuan Ba was not as fearful of Chou Jianfeng as compared to Invincible Blade. Seeing Chou Jianfeng walk down from the high platform, the Sword Talisman Sect's genius, Zhu Jinlan, and the Elixir Talisman Sect's genius, Lu Chao, also walked up to the high platform. After a while, their talents were displayed. They were exactly the same as Chou Jianfeng's, but slightly inferior to Yuan Ba and Invincible Blade's. Apart from that, the two of them had also obtained the recognition of the Universal Mirror. They had also obtained superpowers and secret techniques from the Universal Mirror. Seeing that the 5 absolute sex geniuses had all obtained the recognition of the Universal Mirror and obtained superpowers and secret techniques from the Universal Mirror. Junior brother Mo, you should go up and give it a try too. He Jilan, who was beside Mo Qingyun, revealed a look of anticipation. She smiled at Mo Qingyun and said, I think that your talent value is definitely higher than the 5 of them. I think that your talent value is higher than the 5 of them. At that moment, as Jilan's words fell, the surrounding people revealed a look of surprise. They all turned their heads to look at Mo Qingyun. Daring to say that his talent was higher than Yuan Ba and the other 4, one had to admit that Mo Qingyun's performance was a little too arrogant. At that moment, when the crowd looked at Mo Qingyun, the 5 people from Invincible Blade also looked at Mo Qingyun. When Chou Jianfeng saw Mo Qingyun's appearance, his face turned gloomy. He said coldly, Kid, it's actually you. Seeing Chou Jianfeng's expression, the crowd's expression changed again. They were surprised by Chou Jianfeng's reaction. Chapter 633. At this moment, in the Heavenly Rainbow Restaurant, 2 terrifying auras burst out from the 2 courtyards of the Heavenly Rainbow Restaurant. This was the aura of an 8 seal expert. There are 2 7-seal great symbol masters in the Heavenly Rainbow Restaurant who have broken through to the symbol supremacy realm. Looks like there will be 2 more symbol supremacies in the Myriad World City. I wonder who they are. If I'm not wrong, one of them should be the shopkeeper of the Heavenly Rainbow Restaurant. His cultivation has already reached the peak of the 7-seal great symbol realm. In that case, the Heavenly Rainbow Restaurant will soon become the 8-seal restaurant. For a moment, the people around the Heavenly Rainbow restaurant looked at the Heavenly Rainbow restaurant in awe. At the same time, figures flew out from the surrounding buildings and rapidly flew towards the Heavenly Rainbow restaurant. Each of the figures that flew towards the Heavenly Rainbow restaurant emitted a terrifying aura. The aura of the weakest person among them had also reached the peak of the seven-seal Great Symbol Realm. From this, it could be seen how powerful these people were. This is great. My cultivation has finally broken through to the creation realm. Not long after the crowd arrived, an excited voice sounded from a small courtyard in the Heavenly Rainbow restaurant. Then, the crowd above the Heavenly Rainbow restaurant saw a sloppy old man fly out from the small courtyard. Following closely behind the sloppy old man, another figure flew out from another small courtyard and smiled faintly at the sloppy old man. Congratulations, Brother Ho. Your cultivation has broken through to the creation realm. These two people were none other than Lu Feng and Ho Shihua, who had been in seclusion previously. Unexpectedly, their cultivation had also broken through. Congratulations to you two. Hearing Lu Feng's words, Ho Shihua revealed an excited expression and replied with a hearty laugh. Shopkeeper Lu, Pill Emperor Ho, congratulations to the two of you. Seeing Lu Feng and Ho Shihua appear, the crowd above the Heavenly Rainbow restaurant cupped their hands and congratulated them. Thank you for coming to congratulate us. Hearing the crowd's words, Lu Feng and Ho Shihua smiled faintly and cupped their hands towards the crowd. Everyone, I still have some matters to attend to, so I won't entertain you for the time being. After exchanging a few pleasantries with the crowd, Lu Binlai revealed a faint smile and sent off the people who had come to congratulate him. After sending off the congratulatory guests, Lu Feng and Ho Shihua headed toward Mo Qingyun's small courtyard. It's all thanks to junior brother Qingyun's help that I was able to make a breakthrough in my cultivation. I'll have to thank him properly later. That's right. It's all thanks to second brother Qingyun that I was able to make a breakthrough in my cultivation this time. I really have to thank him properly. On the way to Mo Qingyun's small courtyard, Lu Feng and Lu Li both had solemn expressions as they sighed emotionally. A short while later, Lu Feng and Lu Feng arrived at Mo Qingyun's courtyard. However, to their surprise, Mo Qingyun wasn't in the courtyard. Not here. Seeing this, Lu Feng was a little surprised. After pondering for a while, he said, since second brother isn't here, he must have gone to look for the people from his sect. Let's go look for him there. Soon, Lu Feng arrived at the hotel lobby and asked the waiter, Lu Chong, which room are Mr. Mo's disciples staying in? Replying to the shopkeeper, they're staying in sky rooms 5 to 10. Upon hearing Lu Feng's question, the waiter, Lu Chong, had a respectful expression on his face as he replied to Lu Feng. However, not long ago, young Master Mo and the others left the hotel. It seems like they went to the Appraiser Peak to test their talent. Treasure Inspection Peak. Lu Feng and Ho Shihua were stunned when they heard the waiter's words. They were surprised by the waiter's answer. Let's go to Treasure Inspection Peak to take a look. I'm looking forward to seeing how high second Brother Qingyun's talent is. Brother Ho, let's go to Treasure Inspection Peak to take a look. Knowing that Mo Qingyun had gone to Treasure Inspection Peak, Lu Feng did not want to delay any longer. He said to Ho Shihua with a smile, I'm very curious about second brother's talent. It must be amazing. That's right. Ho Shihua nodded in agreement. Then, Lu Feng and Ho Shihua left Tianhong Restaurant and headed to Treasure Inspection Peak together. At this moment, on Treasure Inspection Peak, when the crowd saw Cho Jianfeng glaring at Mo Qingyun, they gloated and waited for a good show to happen. Since ancient times, beautiful women are always trouble. This guy's been tricked by the woman next to him. That's right. If the woman next to him didn't say that, Cho Jianfeng wouldn't have noticed him, and there wouldn't be any trouble. A 5-seal beginner has offended Cho Jianfeng, the prodigy of the Shadow Talisman sect. He's dead for sure this time. How dare a reckless guy compare himself to a 5-seal prodigy? He's digging his own grave. In the crowd's opinion, Mo Qingyun had offended Cho Jianfeng, and he would end up in a miserable state. Mo Qingyun didn't care about the crowd's reaction. He smiled at Yijilan and said, "All right, I'll give it a try." After Mo Qingyun said that, he walked toward the high platform of Treasure Inspection Peak and ignored Chou Jianfeng. This guy dares to ignore Chou Jianfeng. Interesting. When Zhu Jinlan, the prodigy of the Sword Talisman sect, saw Mo Qingyun's action, he was intrigued. Humph, a guy who doesn't know his place. He's only going to die faster and more miserably. Yuan Ba's face was cold as he looked at Mo Qingyun with disdain. He didn't take Mo Qingyun seriously. As for Invincible Blade, he had a cold expression on his face. He glanced at Mo Qingyun and remained silent. "Haha, this is interesting." Zhu Jinlan and Lu Chao smiled faintly and didn't say anything. They looked like they were going to watch a good show. "Kid, you're courting death." When Chou Jianfeng saw that Mo Qingyun had ignored him, he felt humiliated and his expression turned gloomy. Then, Chou Jianfeng didn't hesitate. He took out a talisman and activated it. He threw it at Mo Qingyun. When the talisman was activated by Chou Jianfeng, there was a burst of aura that was comparable to an expert with 7 seals. The crowd couldn't help but be shocked. Ice Sword Heart Piercing Talisman. When Mo Qingyun saw that Chou Jianfeng was attacking him, he didn't hesitate. He immediately took out the Ice Sword Heart Piercing Talisman and attacked Chou Jianfeng. 7 Seals Talisman. When the crowd saw the Ice Sword Heart Piercing Talisman in Mo Qingyun's hand, they were shocked. They looked at Mo Qingyun in disbelief. A kid with beginner level 5 seals had a 7 Seals Talisman. It was shocking. Bang! The 2 talismans collided in the air, and there was a dull sound. There was a shocking force storm. 7 Seals Talisman. After seeing this scene, Chou Jianfeng was startled, revealing a look of surprise. Then, Chou Jianfeng's expression became even colder. He said coldly, "Kid, since you're courting death, I'll fulfill your wish." After Chou Jianfeng said that, he took out a 7 Seals Talisman and activated it. He then threw it at Mo Qingyun. "Kid, if you want to hurt my brother, you'll have to go through me first." "Humph, it's not up to you to bully my junior." Meanwhile, as Chou Jianfeng was about to make his move, 2 furious voices could be heard from outside the Appraiser Peak. Chapter 634. These were the auras of 2 8-seal powerhouses. When they sensed these 2 terrifying auras, the surrounding people's faces twitched and revealed looks of reverence. These 2 8-seal powerhouses were naturally Lu Feng and Ho Shihua, who had rushed over from the Tianhong restaurant. Bang! As Lu Feng and Ho Shihua approached, Lu Feng struck out with his palm and directly destroyed Chou Jianfeng's talisman. After destroying Chou Jianfeng's talisman, Lu Feng came to Mo Qingyun's side and asked with concern, "Second brother, are you all right?" "I'm fine." When he heard Lu Feng's concern, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and replied, "Congratulations, senior brother, for breaking through to the creation realm. Congratulations, big brother, for breaking through to the 8-seal talisman Supremacy realm." When he sensed Lu Feng and Ho Shihua's cultivation, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and clasped his hands together to congratulate them. "Senior brother, big brother." When they heard Mo Qingyun's words, the surrounding people's expressions immediately changed and revealed looks of surprise. They really did not expect that this kid, who came from a 6-seal sect and was only at the initial stage 5 seal, would have such a powerful backing. A kid at the peak of the initial stage 5 seal had the support of 2 8-seal powerhouses. Perhaps even a genius from an 8-seal sect could not compare to him. At this moment, Mo Qingyun's position in the hearts of the crowd immediately changed drastically. This kid is not simple. He actually has the protection of an 8-seal powerhouse behind him. No wonder he dares to fight with Chou Jianfeng. Didn't you hear? He called the 8-seal powerhouse senior brother. Does this mean that he has? Hiss, doesn't this mean that? His master is at least an 8-seal powerhouse, or even a 9-seal powerhouse. Then, the crowd's gazes towards Mo Qingyun were immediately filled with reverence. Kid, don't think that you can be so arrogant just because you're a disciple of the Five Absolute Sect. Ho Shihua glanced at Chou Jianfeng, and his gaze turned cold as he spoke unhappily. When Ho Shihua spoke, he released his aura and pressed it towards Chou Jianfeng. Thump, thump, thump. Under the suppression of Ho Shihua's aura, Chou Jianfeng was immediately shaken to the point of repeatedly retreating, a wave of qi and blood surging within his body. However, Chou Jianfeng didn't pay attention to the surging qi and blood in his body. Instead, he looked at Ho Shihua in shock and exclaimed, "Your Pill Sovereign Ho Shihua, an 8th grade Pill Sovereign from the Mortal Road? I didn't expect you to know this, old man." Hearing Chou Jianfeng's words, Ho Shihua showed some surprise, and the coldness on his face became even more intense. After Ho Shihua's words, there was another uproar in the surroundings. The way everyone looked at Mo Qingyun changed again. What? That sloppy old man was actually a Tier 8 Pill Emperor? If that was the case, wouldn't that brat's master be an alchemy venerable? Even if he's not an alchemy venerable, he's at least an 8th grade alchemy emperor. What a terrifying background this brat has. If that's the case, the power behind this kid is no weaker than the Eight Seals sect. At this moment, Mo Qingyun's status in everyone's eyes was raised once again. I didn't expect this brat to have such a background. It seems like we've underestimated him. Zhu Jinlong was surprised, and he looked at Mo Qingyun again. However, his eyes were still filled with disdain. It's more interesting this way. Otherwise, the gap between his strength and Chou Jianfeng's is too big, and there won't be a good show to watch. The faint smile on Lu Chao's face revealed a strong expectation. He wanted to see the fight between Mo Qingyun and Chou Jianfeng. He's just a piece of trash who relies on the power behind him. If such a brat were to stand before me, I could kill 100 of them with one blow. Yuan Ba showed a cold expression, and a cold smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. It seemed like he was plotting something sinister. Different from a few others, Invincible Blade still looked cold, and he only glanced at Mo Qingyun indifferently. Mo Qingyun didn't care about the crowd's reaction, but walked toward the high platform with an indifferent expression. However, in the process of walking toward the high platform of the Universal Mirror, Mo Qingyun used the seal gate to seal some of his own talents. How much do you think this brat's talent points will be? He should have some talent since he can get the support of 2 8 seal experts. From what I see, his talent points should reach 200 points. I think so too. His talent points should reach 200 points, but I don't know if he can get the recognition of the Universal Mirror. When they saw Mo Qingyun walk up to the high platform, everyone's curiosity was piqued. Walking up to the high platform of the Universal Mirror, Mo Qingyun didn't hesitate and walked to the front of the Universal Mirror. Then, the Universal Mirror shook violently, and a blinding light burst out. Under the light, the surrounding crowd closed their eyes unconsciously, not daring to look directly at the light of the Universal Mirror. A moment later, when the light of the Heavenly Treasure Mirror dimmed a little, Mo Qingyun's various talents also appeared on the Heavenly Treasure Mirror. Bone Age, 21 years old soul strength, flawless cultivation, peak of 5 seal beginner bloodline, fake Heavenly Soul demon bloodline spiritual body, fire spiritual body martial soul, peak of level 13 red flame dragon martial soul talent points. 1000 at this moment. Mo Qingyun's various talents, as assessed by the Mirror of Heaven and Earth, were displayed on the mirror. 1000. Mo Qingyun's talent points were 1000. Silence. At this moment, everyone on the Appraiser Peak was dumbfounded when they saw this scene. Is the Heaven and Earth Treasure Mirror broken? After an unknown amount of time had passed, a shocking sentence broke the silence at the moment. Wow. As soon as these words were spoken, the entire peak was in an uproar, and it caused a huge wave of commotion. 1000. That kid's talent points are 1000. How is that possible? 1000. His talent points are close to 3 times that of the Five Wonders sect geniuses. What a crazy talent. Not only is his soul strength terrifying, but he also has a bloodline and a spiritual body. That's crazy. That's not right. Did you guys see that? That kid has an extra martial spirit among his talents. Martial soul? What is that martial soul? Do you know? No idea. Words of astonishment were uttered from the mouths of the crowd. Qingyun's talent points are indeed terrifying. At that moment, the Supreme Elder and the others were so excited that their bodies trembled. Junior brother Mo's talent points have indeed surpassed the other 5 geniuses. After seeing Mo Qingyun's talent points, Hejilan was pleasantly surprised. Her face was filled with joy and gentleness. She was right. Mo Qingyun's talent points had indeed surpassed Yuan Ba and the others. Second brother's talent points are really. After seeing Mo Qingyun's test results, Lu Feng smiled bitterly and shook his head. Crazy. After hearing Lu Feng's words, Ho Shihua also smiled bitterly and voiced his thoughts. Lu Feng and He Zhilan sighed and looked at each other. They instantly understood each other's thoughts. Chapter 635. 1000. Seeing Mo Qingyun's talent value, Invincible Blade, and the others were shocked. Their faces were full of shock. They had never expected that a kid that they had looked down upon would have such an incredible talent. This kid's talent value is terrifying. We can't let him grow. Seeing Mo Qingyun's talent value, Yuan Ba's face was filled with jealousy, and his eyes turned cold instantly. Right now, the threat that Mo Qingyun posed to him was even stronger than that of Invincible Blade and the others. 1000 talent value. At that moment, Invincible Blade's expression changed drastically. A ray of light flashed in his eyes, and a strong fighting spirit exploded from his body. At the Myriad Talisman Immortal Conference, he had finally met someone who could arouse his fighting spirit. *MN this kid. He has such incredible talent. Seeing Mo Qingyun's talent value, Chou Jianfeng's expression turned ferocious. Murderous intent flashed his eyes as he said to himself, "Humph, kid, even if your talent value is outstanding, your cultivation is too low. Even if you join the Myriad Talisman Immortal Conference, you will only be a fish on my chopping block. 1000 talent value. I'm afraid it has never appeared in the history of the path of immortality." Zhu Jinlan and Lu Chao sneered, and a cunning look flashed in their eyes. Zhu Jinlan said, "I didn't expect such a demon to appear in this year's Myriad Talisman Immortal Conference. In this case, Chou Jianfeng will want to kill him even more." At that moment, when everyone was shocked by Mo Qingyun's talent value, a strange sword print appeared on Mo Qingyun's body. When the strange sword print appeared, Zhu Jinlan's expression changed, and his eyes turned gloomy. It was the Blood Talisman sword print. The sword print on Mo Qingyun's body was the Blood Talisman sword print of the Sword Talisman sect. Since Mo Qingyun had the Blood Talisman sword print on him, it meant that an inner disciple of the Sword Talisman sect had been killed by Mo Qingyun. This kid dared to kill an inner disciple of the Sword Talisman sect. Looking at the Blood Talisman sword print on Mo Qingyun's body, Zhu Jinlan's expression turned gloomy. He looked at Mo Qingyun with a murderous intent. This kid actually offended 2 of the 5 absolute sect. Interesting. Yuan Ba and Lu Chao were smirking coldly. They seemed to be gloating as they waited for a good show to unfold. When Chou Jianfeng saw this, he revealed a cold smile as he looked at Zhu Jinlan. It seemed that he planned to join hands with Zhu Jinlan. When Zhu Jinlan saw Chou Jianfeng looking at him, he immediately understood what Chou Jianfeng meant and nodded in agreement. They knew very well that Mo Qingyun's background was very powerful. With their strength alone, they could not bear the blame of killing Mo Qingyun. If the 2 of them joined forces, the result would be different. The power of 2/8 Seal sects was very great. At this moment, while everyone was watching Mo Qingyun was immersed in a very illusory world. This was a foggy space. Countless light spots flashed in it, constantly turning into images. Little kid, congratulations on gaining my recognition. At this moment, while Mo Qingyun was sizing up the image before him, an aged voice entered his mind. The voice spoke in a deep voice. There are a total of 108,000 types of divine abilities and secret techniques in my mirror space. You can choose any one of them. Remember, you can only choose one of them. You are the treasure mirror of heaven and earth. Hearing this old man's words, Mo Qingyun's expression changed, and he exclaimed in surprise. You can say so. To be exact, I am the weapon spirit of the treasure mirror of heaven and earth. The old voice spoke again, replying to Mo Qingyun with a faint smile. He then said, Little kid, I sense a familiar aura from you. It makes me feel very close to you. Familiar aura? Mo Qingyun was shocked, and he was shocked. He was very surprised by what the treasure mirror of heaven and earth had said. According to his knowledge, the treasure mirror of heaven and earth could be a treasure from ancient times or even from the untainted age. Now, the treasure mirror of heaven and earth actually said that it sensed a familiar aura from him. He had to admit that this news came too suddenly for Mo Qingyun. In that case, I will make an exception for you. I will unlock the untainted superpowers and secret skills from the untainted age. It is up to you whether you can get them or not. At this moment, while Mo Qingyun was still in shock, the treasure mirror of heaven and earth said to him again, I will give you another piece of advice. If you want to get a high-level superpowers and secret skills, you have to go deep into the treasure mirror space. There are 36 Tiangang secret skills, 72 Disha secret skills, and 28 Constellations secret skills. Thank you, Senior. Hearing the weapon spirit of the treasure mirror of heaven and earth, Mo Qingyun was delighted and thanked the treasure mirror of heaven and earth immediately. He really did not expect the treasure mirror of heaven and earth to unlock the superpowers and secret skills that were sealed for him. Besides, with the guidance of the treasure mirror of heaven and earth, Mo Qingyun had a clear direction to choose the superpowers and secret skills. After reminding Mo Qingyun, the treasure mirror of heaven and earth did not say anything else and fell into silence. Seeing this, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate and immediately went deep into the treasure mirror space to sense. As Mo Qingyun went deep into the treasure mirror to sense, the suppression on his soul became stronger. When Mo Qingyun went deep into the treasure mirror space to sense, the images of the superpowers and secret skills appeared in front of him one after another. Among the superpowers and secret skills, there were secret skills of the saber type, secret skills of the sword type, and secret skills of the whip type, which had endless changes. If he had not listened to the weapon spirit of the treasure mirror's advice, Mo Qingyun would not have been able to hold himself back and choose one of the superpowers and secret skills. After a few minutes, Mo Qingyun saw 28 starlight spots that were constantly transforming into superpowers and secret skills. In these superpowers and secret skills, there was a shadow of an ancient deity which gave off a shocking divine power. Is this the superpowers and secret skills of the 28 constellations? It's so powerful. With this discovery, Mo Qingyun's heart skipped a beat, and a strong sense of reverence rose in his heart. After a moment of shock, Mo Qingyun continued to sense deeper into the treasure mirror space to look for more powerful superpowers and secret skills. After a while, the 72 Earth Fiend secret skills and 36 Heaven Star secret skills that the weapon spirit had mentioned appeared in front of Mo Qingyun one after another. However, Mo Qingyun did not stop there. Instead, he continued to sense deeper into the treasure mirror space. After a few more minutes, Mo Qingyun sensed that his soul seemed to have reached its limit, and he could no longer go deeper into the treasure mirror space. Seeing that he could no longer go deeper into the treasure mirror space, Mo Qingyun began to look at the superpowers and secret skills in front of him and decided to choose one of them. After looking at it for a while, a superpowers and secret skills light shadow attracted Mo Qingyun's attention. In the secret skills, there was a handsome young man wearing a lotus robe. He was stepping on a fire wheel, and when he moved, he transformed into 3 heads and 6 arms. This is, after seeing this, Mo Qingyun was immediately overjoyed, and he made a decision in his heart. Divine General Lotus, summoning talisman's secret skill. I'll choose you. Chapter 636. As Mo Qingyun chose his divine power and secret technique, his consciousness was forcefully ejected from the mirror's space by a tyrannical force. With this Lotus General Deity summoning talisman, I will have a powerful trump card in the upcoming Myriad Talisman Immortal Gathering. As his consciousness exited the treasure mirror space, Mo Qingyun was pleasantly surprised. He was very satisfied with his reward this time. Since I have obtained this superpower, it's time to leave the treasure mirror peak. With this thought in mind, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and walked down from the high platform of the treasure mirror of heaven and earth. Senior brother, big brother, let's go. After walking down from the high platform, Mo Qingyun walked up to Lu Feng and Luo Feng and said to them, "All right." After hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Lu Feng and Luo Feng did not want to stay any longer. They walked out of the treasure mirror peak with Mo Qingyun. When Mo Qingyun walked out of the treasure mirror peak, Feng Huide and the rest walked out of the crowd and joined Mo Qingyun. "You're not bad. I hope you can improve your strength during the Myriad Talisman Immortal Gathering. We will fight again at that time." When Mo Qingyun walked past Invincible Blade said coldly to him. His body emitted a strong battle intent. "All right." Mo Qingyun nodded and did not say much to Invincible Blade. He continued walking out of the treasure mirror peak. As for Yuan Ba and the rest, Mo Qingyun chose to ignore them. He did not want to bother with these arrogant geniuses. Since Mo Qingyun had accepted his challenge, Invincible Blade did not stay any longer. He lowered his head and walked out of the treasure mirror peak. Ding, ding, ding. When the disciples saw Mo Qingyun and Invincible Blade approaching, they were in awe. They quickly stepped back and made way for Mo Qingyun and the rest. Seeing this, Mo Qingyun did not bother about them and left the treasure mirror peak with Lu Feng and the rest. After leaving the treasure mirror peak, Mo Qingyun did not stay any longer and headed straight back to Tianhong Hotel. He planned to comprehend the divine General Lotus Deity summoning talisman before the Myriad Talisman Immortal Gathering and master how to activate the divine General Lotus Deity summoning talisman. Not long after Mo Qingyun left the treasure mirror peak, the results of his talent test spread in the Myriad World City. In a conference hall of the city governor's mansion at this moment, a middle-aged man with a solemn face. Mo Qin, "Greetings, seniors." The middle-aged man walked into the main hall and bowed respectfully to everyone with a respectful look on his face. Qian, why are you here?" Seeing that the middle-aged man had arrived, the old man at the top of the hall asked curiously. "Marshal Granduncle Mo Chung, I was in a Myriad World City just now, and I heard from someone that a talented junior appeared on the Mirror Treasure Peak." Thinking about Mo Qingyun's terrifying talent value, Mo Qin's expression turned solemn. "I heard that the little guy not only has a flawless spiritual strength, but he also has a powerful bloodline and spiritual body. His talent value has reached a terrifying 1,000. 1,000. Hearing Mo Qin's words, the expressions of the elders in the hall changed. Disbelief appeared on their faces. "Mo Qin, is this true?" After a short silence, Mo Chung looked nervous and quickly confirmed with Mo Qin. When Mo Chung asked this question, the surrounding elders looked solemn and pricked up their ears, waiting for Mo Qin's reply. When the little guy was testing his talent, there were many people around. "It should be true." Mo Qin nodded solemnly. Hearing Mo Qin's words, Mo Chung looked solemn and said to Mo Qin, "Mo Qin, come with me." "Yes." Hearing Mo Qin's words, Mo Qin glanced at the surrounding people and followed Mo Qin out of the hall. "Old man Mo Chung, don't play around in front of us, you little crafty fellow." "That's right. Since many people in the city know about this, We will find out about the little guy's identity when we ask someone later. What are we waiting for? Let's go and ask about the little guy's background. Jin Wan can't wait. Haha. Old man Mo Chung, take your time to discuss. We will make a move first. At this moment, the few old men in the hall turned into afterimages and quickly disappeared from the hall. You old fogies. Seeing the actions of the crowd, Mo Chung did not hesitate. He immediately grabbed Mo Chin's shoulder and disappeared from the hall. After a short while, 10 terrifying auras appeared in the sky above the Heavenly Rainbow restaurant. These auras were comparable to a 9-seal elite. A powerhouse at the peak of the 8-seal realm had appeared 10 times at once. This scene truly frightened the surrounding people. 10 peak 8-seal elite. Looks like they are here for second brother. Sensing the auras above the Heavenly Rainbow restaurant, Lu Feng's expression tightened. He said to Ho Shihua, "Brother Ho, let's go and welcome them." All right. Hearing Lu Feng's words, Ho Shihua nodded solemnly. He turned to Mo Qingyun and said, "Junior brother, you stay here. We will go and deal with this matter. Senior brother, there is no need. I will go with you." Mo Qingyun shook his head with a faint smile when he heard Ho Shihua's words. He explained, "Since they've come for me, I'd better go see them. Otherwise, they probably won't leave just like that." Mo Qingyun knew clearly that once he displayed his talent, he would definitely attract the attention of the 9-seal sex. However, in order to be recognized by the universal mirror, he did not regret doing so. Moreover, it was not a bad thing to attract the attention of the 9-seal sex. It would make Chou Jianfeng and the rest more cautious. All right, hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Ho Shihua and Ho Shihua understood Mo Qingyun's thoughts. They nodded in agreement with Mo Qingyun's decision. Then, Mo Qingyun and the other two walked out of the Heavenly Rainbow restaurant and came before Mo Chung and the rest. "Greetings, seniors." Coming before Mo Chung and the rest, Mo Qingyun and the other two bowed slightly and greeted Mo Chung and the rest. "You are the little guy with a talent value of 1,000, right?" Looking at Mo Qingyun and the other two, Mo Chung quickly guessed Mo Qingyun's identity. He smiled faintly and walked towards Mo Qingyun. "Yes." Mo Qingyun nodded in acknowledgement. "Little guy, since you came out to welcome us, you must have guessed our intentions." Seeing Mo Qingyun nod in acknowledgement, Mo Chung smiled faintly at Mo Qingyun and went straight to the point. "Little guy, I am Mo Chung, an elder of the Tao Talisman sect of the 10 Great Immortal Talisman sects. Since you already know my intentions, I will not beat around the bush. You have been accepted by the Tao Talisman sect." Accepted by the Tao Talisman sect. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, the crowd outside the Heavenly Rainbow restaurant was shocked. If an ordinary person wanted to enter the 10 Great Immortal Path sects, they would have to participate in the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering and fight their way out of hundreds of thousands of people. Now, Mo Qingyun was accepted directly. Chapter 637. However, before the crowd could react, the following scene left them dumbfounded. "Old ghost Mo Chung, you are too despicable. Little fellow, I am Elder Yuan Jun from Yuan Fu sect. Yuan Fu sect can also make an exception and recruit you. Amit Ba, Buddha helps those who are fated. Little fellow, you have the root of wisdom. My Buddha sect is willing to guide you into becoming a monk. Puffed. Old bald slave, he wants to join your Buddha sect at such a young age. He is simply ruining his own life. Haha, that's right. Little fellow, our Demon Talisman sect is the right choice for you. We have a girl from the Demon Clan in our sect." When they saw Mo Qingyun's actions, the elders by the side immediately panicked and tried to recruit Mo Qingyun. When they saw this scene, the crowd immediately smiled bitterly as intense envy flashed across their eyes. Wasn't the gap between them a little too big? At this moment, if not for the powerful aura emitting from the elders' bodies, the crowd would have suspected that these elders were swindlers. Since when did the 9-seal sects have such low requirements for recruiting disciples? When they saw the elders' actions, Lu Feng and Ho Shihua immediately smiled bitterly and shook their heads subconsciously. The person who was most affected by the elder's thoughts was none other than Ho Shihua. After all, he had seen Mo Qingyun's talent in pill refinement. As the elders argued, the crowd turned to look at Mo Qingyun, wanting to see Mo Qingyun's decision. Seniors, thank you for your favor towards Qingyun. Mo Qingyun felt helpless in his heart when he saw this. He involuntarily smiled bitterly as he shook his head and said, "However, I've already made up my mind. I intend to pass the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gatherings test and officially enter the 10 Great Sections." Mo Qingyun had chosen to participate in the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering to enter the 10 Great Sects. Naturally, it was for the prize of the first place, the Ancient World Crossing Stone. However, he could not say this out loud. Otherwise, it would have a negative impact on him. Pass the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gatherings assessment and enter the 10 Great Sects openly? Upon hearing Mo Qingyun's thoughts, the expressions of Mo Cheng and the rest changed. They were extremely shocked by Mo Qingyun's decision. From their point of view, weren't the disciples of the various sects participating in the 10,000 Talismans Immortal Gathering to enter the 10 Great Sects? Now, Mo Qingyun could directly enter the top 10 sects, and he could even choose his own sect. However, he actually chose to participate in the 10,000 Talismans Immortal Gathering to enter the 10 Great Sects. This action was truly puzzling. It had to be said that Mo Qingyun's current actions felt superfluous. Good, very good. As a heaven's favorite with unparalleled talent, little guy, you should have this kind of pride. However, after a brief moment of silence, Jinwan revealed an appreciative smile and praised Mo Qingyun. In that case, this old man will not persuade you any further. I hope that you will bring me some surprises during the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering. Haha, so this is what a little guy like you is thinking. As Jinwan's words left his mouth, a look of understanding appeared on the faces of the surrounding elders. They thought that they understood Mo Qingyun's thoughts. Looks like we were too rude. How can we use the thinking of ordinary people to judge such a heaven's favorite? That's right. If this little guy chooses to enter the 10 Great Sects directly, he will be looked down upon by others. In the face of such a huge temptation, this little guy is still able to stay true to his heart. It is truly remarkable. At this moment, the surrounding elders also had a higher opinion of Mo Qingyun. Right now, the elders' evaluation of Mo Qingyun had risen a few notches. The gazes of the crowd outside the Heavenly Rainbow restaurant when they looked at Mo Qingyun had also turned solemn and respectful. He could clearly enter the 10 Great Sects directly, but he chose to do the same as the others and enter the 10 Great Sects through the 10,000 Talismans Immortal Gatherings test. One had to admit that Mo Qingyun was a proud young man. He had his own pride and disdain to use such a direct method. Although Mo Qingyun's participation in the 10,000 Talismans Immortal Gathering will cause one less person to be selected, I still admire him from the bottom of my heart. If he was at the peak of the sixth seal, his actions would not be worthy of admiration. However, it is completely different for a fifth seal initial stage cultivation. In the 10,000 Talismans Immortal Gathering, a fifth seal initial stage cultivation base is completely at the bottom. He is taking a huge risk by doing this. This is also why I admire him. In the face of the temptation of entering the 9 Great Sects, he is still able to stay true to his heart. This is the most commendable thing about him. At this moment, the surrounding disciples all revealed looks of admiration on their faces. In their hearts, their views of Mo Qingyun had changed greatly. Little brat, I respect your decision, and I look forward to your next performance. Mo Cheng nodded his head at Mo Qingyun in admiration. With a faint smile on his face, he walked towards Mo Qingyun and took out an identity token to pass to Mo Qingyun. This is my identity token. After the 10,000 Talismans Immortal Gathering ends, you can bring my identity token to the city governor's mansion to look for me. Old Ghost Mo Cheng, you're playing tricks again. Looking at Mo Cheng's actions, Jin Wan's expression changed drastically. She instantly understood Mo Cheng's plan. Following which, after glaring furiously at Mo Qingyun, Jin Wan also quickly walked towards Mo Qingyun. Little brat, I am Elder Jin Wan of the Golden Talisman sect. This is my identity token. You are welcome to look for me anytime. Arriving in front of Mo Qingyun, Jin Wan revealed a shameless smile and took out an identity token to pass to Mo Qingyun. Seeing the actions of Jin Wan and Mo Cheng, the surrounding elders of the various sects were not to be outdone. They all took out their identity tokens and passed them to Mo Qingyun. Seeing the actions of the crowd, the surrounding people were instantly dumbfounded. Their hearts were filled with mixed feelings, and they did not know what to say. Thank you, seniors, for your kindness. After the 10,000 Talismans Immortal Gathering, I will definitely pay you a visit. After receiving the identity tokens from the crowd, Mo Qingyun revealed a humble expression and bowed to the crowd. Following which, the crowd chatted with Mo Qingyun for a while before leaving the Heavenly Rainbow Restaurant. After sending Mo Cheng and the rest off, Mo Qingyun returned to the Heavenly Rainbow Restaurant. After giving some instructions to Feng Huide and the rest, he began his seclusion. Once he returned to his room, Mo Qingyun's figure moved and entered the Hexian Hall. After entering the cultivation room, Mo Qingyun began to comprehend the secret technique of the Divine Lotus General God, inviting talisman, in his mind. As Mo Qingyun began to comprehend the secret technique of the Divine Lotus General God, inviting talisman, a complete God, inviting talisman gradually appeared in his mind. After comprehending the secret technique of the Divine Lotus General God, inviting talisman, Mo Qingyun took out the Divine Lotus General God, inviting talisman, and tried to activate it. Just like that, time slowly passed as Mo Qingyun tried again and again. Within the Hexian Hall, 5 days later, at this moment, a purple-haired youth with 3 heads and 6 arms slowly flew out of the cultivation room on a fire wheel. This youth was naturally Mo Qingyun. Success! After flying out of the cultivation room, Mo Qingyun's face was filled with joy and excitement. After a few days of hard work, he had finally succeeded. Looking at the time, the 10,000 Talismans Immortal Gathering is about to begin. It is time to leave the Hexian Hall. Chapter 638. When Mo Qingyun walked out of the room, Feng Huide and the rest were already waiting outside. Qingyun, you're out. Seeing Mo Qingyun walk out of the room, Feng Huide and the rest smiled and greeted Mo Qingyun. When he saw Feng Huide and the others, Mo Qingyun nodded to them and said, Supreme Elders, let's head out. All right. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Feng Huide nodded and led the way. The venue of the Myriad Talisman Immortal Gathering was a valley not far from Myriad World's city, the Myriad World's Valley. About 15 minutes later, Mo Qingyun and the rest finally arrived at the Myriad World's Valley. The terrain of the Myriad World's Valley was very strange. It was like a beast trap. Surrounding the Myriad World's Valley was a group of towering mountains. In the middle of the mountains was a valley. This valley was the venue of the Myriad Talisman Immortal Gathering. When Mo Qingyun arrived, the Myriad World's Valley was already filled with people. Seeing Mo Qingyun's arrival, everyone in the valley looked at Mo Qingyun. Their gazes were filled with admiration, mockery, treachery, adoration. He is Mo Qingyun, a genius who decided to rely on his own efforts to enter the 10 great sects. To put it bluntly, he is an idiot. He could have easily entered the 10 great sects, but he chose not to participate in the Myriad Talisman Immortal Gathering. What do you know? My Qingyun is just being confident. He is confident in his own strength. That's right. Only a piece of trash like you would covet the opportunity to reap without sowing. In an instant, everyone had different opinions about Mo Qingyun. Mo Qingyun, I thought I would not have the chance to deal with you. Chou Jianfeng and Zhu Jinlan revealed a cold smile when they saw Mo Qingyun gradually approaching them. They secretly said in a cold voice, "I didn't expect you to court death and insist on participating in the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering. In this case, I can only kill you in the Myriad World Valley. I hope you won't disappoint me, and let me have a good fight." Looking at Mo Qingyun, who was gradually approaching, Invincible Blade revealed a cold and arrogant expression as he muttered to himself. As for Yuan Ba and Lu Chao, they were smirking coldly. They were plotting something evil. As Mo Qingyun gradually approached the entrance of the Myriad World Valley, he saw Mo Chung and the others standing on the high platform before the entrance of the Myriad World Valley. When Mo Qingyun saw Mo Chung and the rest, Mo Chung and the rest also saw Mo Qingyun. They all nodded and greeted Mo Qingyun. Seeing this, Mo Qingyun also showed a humble expression and nodded in response. "Qingyun, wait here for a while. I will get your identity badges." Fang Huaida's expression was solemn when he arrived at the entrance of the Myriad Worlds Valley. He instructed Mo Qingyun and the rest before he went to get the scoreboard for Mo Qingyun and the rest. When Fang Huaid went to get the scoreboard, the other sects arrived one after another. Not long after, Fang Huaid returned with the scoreboard and handed the 3 black iron scoreboards to Mo Qingyun and the other 2. "Qingyun, the 3 of you can refine the scoreboard." After handing the scoreboard to Mo Qingyun and the rest, Fang Huaid instructed Mo Qingyun and the rest. "In a while, the scoreboard will record the points of the demonic beasts you have killed in the Myriad Worlds Valley. As the points on the scoreboard increase, its color will also change. Everyone, please be quiet." While Fang Huaid was instructing Mo Qingyun and the rest, Mo Cheng's deep voice sounded out from the high platform. After hearing Mo Cheng's words, the entire Myriad Worlds Valley quietened down as everyone listened to his words in awe. Since the registration of the various sects has ended, I will now explain the rules of the Myriad Talisman Immortal Meeting. Mo Cheng scanned a registration list and said solemnly, "The Myriad Talisman Immortal Meeting will last for 3 months. During these 3 months, you will need to hunt demonic beasts in the Myriad Worlds Valley. Your results will be based on the number of demonic beasts you have killed. The Myriad Talisman Immortal Meeting's points are as follows. 5 Seals Initial Level Demonic Beast, 5 points. 5 Seals Intermediate Level Demonic Beast, 10 points. 5 Seals Advanced Level Demonic Beast, 20 points. 5 Seals Peak Level Demonic Beast, 50 points. 6 Seals Initial Level Demonic Beast, 100 points. 6 Seals Intermediate Level Demonic Beast, 200 points. 6 Seals Advanced Level Demonic Beast, 500 points. 6 Seals Peak Level Demonic Beast, 1,000 points. 7 Seals Initial Level Demonic Beast, 5,000 points. 7 Seals Intermediate Level Demonic Beast, 20,000 points. 7 Seals Advanced Level Demonic Beast, 50,000 points. 7 Seals Peak Level Demonic Beast, 200,000 points. Although the more powerful the demonic beast you kill, the more points you will obtain, I do not wish for you to blindly provoke advanced level demonic beasts. After explaining the points system to everyone, Mo Cheng's expression turned serious as he said to the crowd, "This is because if you are unable to defeat the demonic beasts and are killed by them, you'll have to stay in the Myriad Worlds Valley forever. In your scoreboard, there is information about the demonic beasts in the Myriad Worlds Valley. Therefore, you have to think carefully about how to kill the demonic beasts. In that case, let's enter the Myriad Worlds Valley now." After Mo Chang finished speaking, he exchanged glances with Jin Wan and the rest and started to open the entrance of the Myriad Worlds Valley. Boom, boom, boom. Under Mo Chang and the rest's actions, the 2 huge stone doors at the entrance of the Myriad Worlds Valley slowly moved to the side. As the stone doors at the entrance opened, the disciples of the various sects started to walk into the Myriad Worlds Valley. "Let's enter as well." Seeing the crowd's actions, Mo Qingyun nodded at Mo Qing and Mo Lan, indicating for them to enter the Myriad Worlds Valley together. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Mo Qing and Mo Lan nodded and walked into the Myriad Worlds Valley with Mo Qingyun. Seeing that Mo Qingyun had entered the Myriad Worlds Valley, Chou Jianfeng and Zhu Jinlan sneered and followed behind him. There'll be a good show to watch. Seeing Chou Jianfeng and Zhu Jinlan's actions, Yuan Ba and Lu Chao sneered and immediately followed behind Chou Jianfeng and Zhu Jinlan. A bunch of trash who only know how to take advantage of others' difficulties. Seeing Chou Jianfeng and the rest's actions, Invincible Blade immediately understood their plan and said with disdain with a cold face. Then, Invincible Blade did not hesitate and immediately followed behind a few of them. As there were too many people who had admitted defeat in the Myriad Worlds Valley, Mo Qingyun did not realize that Chou Jianfeng and the rest were following them. Very quickly, Mo Qingyun and the other two entered the Myriad Worlds Valley. Junior brother Mo, the assessment of the Myriad Talisman Immortal Gathering is based on points. If the three of us go together, it will affect everyone's results. After entering the Myriad Worlds Valley, Mo Qingyun said to Mo Qingyun with a solemn face, "Therefore, junior sister, he and I have decided to separate from you and hunt the demonic beasts on our own." Mo Qing knew clearly that with his and Jilan's strength, following behind Mo Qingyun would only be a burden to Mo Qingyun. All right, Mo Qingyun didn't object to Mo Qing's decision. He took out a talisman that emitted a threatening cold aura and passed it to Mo Qing. "Senior brother Mo, keep this Eyesword Heart-piercing talisman by your side. It'll give you some protection." "In that case, thank you, junior brother Mo." Seeing Mo Qingyun pass the Ice Sword Heart-piercing talisman, Mo Qing did not stand on ceremony with Mo Qingyun. He nodded and accepted the Ice Sword Heart-piercing talisman. Chapter 639. After separating from Mo Qingyun and Mo Qing, Mo Qingyun immersed his consciousness into the scoreboard to understand the strength of the beasts in the Myriad World Valley. As Mo Qingyun immersed his consciousness into the scoreboard, a detailed map of the Myriad World Valley appeared clearly in Mo Qingyun's mind. Iron Wall Talisman Ape Forest, 5 Seals Beginner Region, Safe Region Sword Back Talisman Tiger Valley, 5 Seals Intermediate Region, Normal Region 3 Demonic Lion Plains, 5 Seals Advanced Region, Normal Region, Demonic Soundpeepa Valley, 6 Seals Advanced Region, Dangerous Region, Golden Wing Talisman Pung Cliff, 7 Seals Advanced Region, Dangerous Region Dragon Blood Overlord Lizard, 7 Seals Peak Region, Nightmare Region. Sensing the map in his mind, Mo Qingyun immediately had a clear understanding of the situation in the Myriad World Valley. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Just as Mo Qingyun was studying the map in his mind, a figure quickly appeared in front of him. Sensing the appearance of the crowd, Mo Qingyun frowned and withdrew his consciousness from the scoreboard. Then, a few disgusting figures appeared in his line of sight. These figures were none other than Chou Jianfeng and the rest who had followed him here. Mo Qingyun, right? Your participation in the Myriad Talisman Immortal Gathering was the worst decision of your life. Looking at Mo Qingyun with a cold smile, Chou Jianfeng's eyes darkened, and he said coldly, "If you accepted the invitation of the Nine Seals Sect's elders and directly entered the Nine Seals Sect, it would be troublesome for us to deal with you. I didn't expect you to create an opportunity for us." "Create an opportunity for you?" Hearing Chou Jianfeng's words, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and shook his head. He said casually, "I don't think so. I don't think that you guys can do anything to me." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Chou Jianfeng and the rest's expressions changed. They were surprised by Mo Qingyun's reaction. They didn't expect Mo Qingyun, a 5 Seals beginner, to not show the slightest bit of fear in front of them who were half a step to 7 Seals. Was Mo Qingyun bluffing? Or did he really have a demonic seed to rely on? At this moment, doubts arose in the hearts of Chou Jianfeng and the others. However, they quickly rejected the latter possibility. Mo Qingyun, if you want to bluff in front of us, I'm afraid your plan will fail. After a short moment of surprise, Zhu Jinlan's face revealed a cold and indifferent expression. His body emitted killing intent as he coldly said, "Since that is the case, I will teach you a lesson. I will let you know that no matter how high your talent is, you're still trash if you do not grow up. As soon as Zhu Jinlan finished speaking, he raised his hand to form a hand seal and took out a sword talisman from his body. As soon as the sword talisman appeared, it emitted a terrifying aura and formed a golden sword shadow. Sensing the aura coming from Zhu Jin's mist sword talisman, the expressions of Yuan Ba and the others changed. Their expressions became serious. Zhu Jinlan's natal sword talisman has been condensed to such an extent. I'm afraid he can even fight against an ordinary Seven Seals expert. Although Zhu Jinlan has improved a lot, if this is all he has, he is still no match for me. Yuan Ba, don't forget that the assessment of the Myriad Talisman Immortal Gathering is a competition of points obtained from killing demonic beasts. It is not a competition of one's combat strength. That's right. If this is the case, Zhu Jinlan's Mist Sword Talisman's powerful attack power will give him an advantage. When Chou Jianfeng and the others saw this, their expressions turned serious. They started to take precautions against Zhu Jinlan. Furious Golden Sword Talisman. After summoning his natal sword talisman, Zhu Jinlan immediately took out another talisman and activated it at an extremely fast speed. Then, Mo Qingyun saw that Zhu Jinlan's natal sword talisman had merged with the sword that he had taken out. As the two talismans merged into one, its power immediately multiplied. It emitted an aura that was enough to make a Seven Seals expert change his expression. When Mo Qingyun saw the sword talisman coming at him, his expression turned serious. He wanted to summon the Eye Demon to merge with him. Then, before Mo Qingyun could make a move, a black figure appeared in front of him. Emperor Blood Saber Slash. When the black figure arrived, he pulled out the long saber on his back and slashed out a blood-red crescent saber radiance. When the blood-red crescent saber radiance appeared, it emitted a terrifying evil aura and a terrifying bloody aura. Bang! When the saber radiance hit the sword talisman, it let out a muffled sound and blocked the sword talisman. Invincible Blade, what is the meaning of this? Seeing that his attack was blocked, Zhu Jinlan's expression immediately turned gloomy. He stared angrily at the black figure in front of Mo Qingyun. Nothing. Before I fight with him, I don't want anyone to hurt him. Invincible Blade replied coldly to Zhu Jinlan's words with a cold expression. Invincible Blade, you are meddling too much. Why should we do as you say? Seeing the attitude of the Invincible Blade, Yuan Ba sneered and walked forward slowly. Because of the saber in my hand. When Invincible Blade heard Yuan Ba's words, a cold light flashed in his eyes and his body emitted a murderous aura. At the same time, everyone saw a blood-red radiance erupting from Invincible Blade's body and emitting a terrifying evil aura. Massacre Bloodline Power. Sensing the evil aura on Invincible Blade's body, Yuan Ba and the others' expressions immediately turned solemn. A strong sense of fear flashed in their eyes. After glaring at Invincible Blade, Yuan Ba and the others did not choose to attack. They suppressed the anger in their hearts. Invincible Blade, you can protect him once. You can't always be by his side. After a moment of silence, Chou Jianfeng's face revealed a ferocious expression and said unwillingly. He turned to look at Mo Qingyun and said, Boy, you are lucky this time. I hope that you will not meet me in the future. As Chou Jianfeng's words fell, he turned and left. He did not continue to stay there. Boy, if you don't want to die, you can always follow behind Invincible Blade. Seeing Chou Jianfeng leave, Zhu Jinlan did not continue to stay. He glared at Mo Qingyun and Lu Chao and said, Invincible Blade, I will remember today's debt. I will slowly settle it with you later. As Zhu Jinlan's words fell, he did not continue to stay. He moved and flew toward the interior of the Myriad World Valley. There is no more drama to watch. Let's go. Seeing Zhu Jinlan and Chou Jianfeng leave, Lu Chao was disappointed. He turned and left with Yuan Ba. Seeing Zhu Jinlan and the others leave, Invincible Blade looked at Mo Qingyun coldly and said, Next, be careful. Don't die before fighting with me. Don't worry. I will not die so easily. Hearing Invincible Blade's words, Mo Qingyun chuckled and replied to him, That will be for the best. Hearing Mo Qingyun's reply, Invincible Blade nodded and did not say anything more. He flashed and headed toward the interior of the Myriad World Valley. In this case, I should also head to the demonic Soundpeople Valley. Chapter 640. On the way to the Myriad World Valley, a demonic beast with eagle wings and the body of tiger stared at Mo Qingyun with bloodthirsty eyes. It was a sixth seal intermediate demonic beast, the eagle-winged tiger beast. Roar. The eagle-winged tiger beast roared at Mo Qingyun. Then, the word king on its forehead shone brightly. As soon as the word king on the eagle-winged tiger beast's forehead shone, it turned into a sword shadow and rushed towards Mo Qingyun. Dual polarity broken sword talisman. Facing the attack of the eagle-winged tiger beast, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate. He immediately took out a talisman and activated it. Then, the level 2 broken sword talisman shone brightly and turned into a sword shadow, exuding a sharp sword power. Clang! The sound of a long sword being unsheathed came from the dual polarity broken sword talisman. Then, it broke from the middle and split into two. After the dual polarity broken sword talisman split into two, it turned into two broken sword shadows and rushed towards the eagle-winged tiger beast. Bang! The broken sword shadow collided with the eagle-winged tiger beast sword radiance and made a loud sound. Puff! As for the other broken sword shadow, it hit the body of the eagle-winged tiger beast and instantly cut through its fur, leaving a hideous wound. Mo's son. After activating the level 2 broken sword talisman, Mo Qingyun was ready to summon Mo's son and combine with him to fight the eagle-winged tiger beast. However, what surprised Mo Qingyun was that he had lost contact with Palace Hexian. I lost contact with Palace Hexian. After discovering this, a trace of surprise appeared on Mo Qingyun's face. He was somewhat surprised by this situation. Could it be that there's a taboo in the Myriad World Valley that suppresses the people in the Myriad World Valley? Mo Qingyun had a pensive look on his face as he pondered. He released his soul power to sense his surroundings. After probing for a while, Mo Qingyun frowned. Understanding dawned on his face as he said, I didn't think that the terrain of the Valley of All Worlds would form a natural formation of its own. It exerts a latent suppression on all the creatures in the valley. After understanding the reason, Mo Qingyun frowned again. He thought to himself, I wonder if the natural formation of the Valley of All Worlds suppresses my other abilities? As soon as this thought appeared in Mo Qingyun's mind, he couldn't wait to try out his other trump cards. If all his trump cards were suppressed, and he could only use the power of talismans, it would be a very bad thing for him. The sealed door. Then, Mo Qingyun summoned his light gate martial spirit and used the sealed gate martial spirit against the eagle-winged tiger beast. At Mo Qingyun's call, a door of light, exuding an ancient aura, appeared above his body. Then, a mini door of light appeared in Mo Qingyun's hand and blasted towards the eagle-winged tiger beast. When the mini door of light was blasted out by Mo Qingyun, it turned into a ray of light and blasted into the eagle-winged tiger beast's body. Roar! Roar! After being hit by the door of light, the eagle-winged tiger beast cried out in pain and blood spurted out of its mouth. Then the aura of the eagle-winged tiger beast weakened rapidly and fell from the intermediate 6 seals to the advanced 5 seals. The eagle-winged tiger beast looked at Mo Qingyun with awe in its eyes after cultivation dropped from the middle stage of the 6th seal. It felt that Mo Qingyun's technique was too strange. It seemed that he would not be easy to deal with. Blood Chi Rage. In the face of the eagle-winged tiger beast's fear, Mo Qingyun didn't hesitate at all. Once again, he used his martial soul's ability, Blood Chi Berserk. With the support of the martial spirit's Blood Chi Berserk, Mo Qingyun's aura immediately rose from the early stage of the first level of the Pill Palace to the late stage of the second level of the Pill Palace. With the increase in his cultivation base, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated. He took out the Moxibustion halberd and charged at the eagle-winged tiger beast. Seeing Mo Qingyun charging towards it at high speed, the eagle-winged tiger beast didn't dare to stay any longer. It immediately dodged and prepared to flee. Now, the human in front of it gave it a strong sense of danger. Trying to escape, seeing that the eagle-winged tiger beast was about to escape, the corners of Mo Qingyun's mouth curled up slightly. A faint smile appeared on his face as he immediately chased after the eagle-winged tiger beast. Seeing that he could use his martial soul's ability, Mo Qingyun's mood became much more relaxed. This way, his strength wouldn't be suppressed by too much. With Mo Qingyun's late stage of the second level of the Pill Palace, under the superposition of 9 Pill Palace realm experts, the density of his elemental energy wasn't any weaker than an expert at the 7th level of the Pill Palace. In this way, facing the eagle-winged tiger beast that only had the strength of 5 seals, Mo Qingyun didn't need to be restrained. Raptor break. Mo Qingyun's figure flashed, turning into an afterimage as he quickly arrived beside the eagle-winged tiger beast. Gravity suppression. Arriving beside the eagle-winged tiger beast, Mo Qingyun released the complete Earth Profound, suppressing the eagle-winged tiger beast movement. Roar. Being suppressed by the Earth Profound, the eagle-winged tiger beast let out a whimper, showing a sense of helplessness and panic. Seeing this, Mo Qingyun wielded the scorching flame halberd and decisively chopped down at the eagle-winged tiger beast, piercing directly into its body. Being struck by Mo Qingyun's halberd, the eagle-winged tiger beast let out a whimper and fell to the ground dead. After Mo Qingyun killed the eagle-winged tiger beast, a white dot of light flew out from the eagle-winged tiger beast's body and entered his scoreboard. Following which, Mo Qingyun saw that his scoreboard immediately lit up, and there were a few more numbers on it. Rank 14,253. Mo Qingyun. Points 200. Although the eagle-winged tiger beast cultivation was sealed under the door of seals, its points were still calculated according to its original cultivation. Just by killing one eagle-winged tiger beast, I'm already in the top 10,000. Seeing his own ranking, Mo Qingyun's expression changed slightly. He was a little surprised by his own ranking. However, after Mo Qingyun thought about it for a while, he felt relieved. Although there were more than 100,000 people participating in the Myriad Talisman Immortal Gathering, there were not many people who could kill a 6-seal intermediate demonic beast in such a short period of time. After looking at his own points and ranking, Mo Qingyun also took a look at the points of the top 100 people. First place, Invincible Blade, 36,470 points. Second place, Zhu Jinlan, 33,295 points. Third place, Yuan Ba, 31,240 points. Fourth place, Cho Jianfeng, 29,910 points. Fifth place, Lu Chao, 28,950 points. 100th place, Rin Zhong, 37,885 points. At that moment, the points of the top 100 people fell into Mo Qingyun's eyes one after another. Invincible Blade already has more than 30,000 points. Looks like I have to speed up. Looking at the points of the top 100 people, Mo Qingyun let out a faint smile and continued walking towards the demonic Sonar Valley. The assessment of the Myriad Talisman Immortal Gathering will take 3 months. There's no need to rush. Chapter 641. Outside the Myriad World Valley. After the disciples of the various sects entered the Myriad World Valley, a huge screen appeared above the entrance of the Myriad World Valley. The screen displayed the points of the top 1,000 disciples. When the light screen appeared, the sect leaders and elders of the various sects who were outside the Valley of the 10,000 Worlds looked for a place to sit down. At this moment, Feng Huaid and the others met with the people from the Shu Talisman sect at the 6 Seal sect seats. Brother Huaid, I didn't expect the Mao Talisman sect to have such a monstrous disciple like Mo Qingyun. Yu Xianxin greeted Feng Huai with a hint of jealousy in his eyes after he sat down. Haha, I also didn't expect Qingyun to be so talented. Hearing Yu Xianxin's words, a brilliant smile appeared on Feng Huai's face as he spoke some words of relief. It's a pity that Mo Qingyun's cultivation is too low. Hearing Feng Huai's words, the jealousy on Yu Xianxin's face deepened. He said regretfully, if only he had the cultivation of the Sixth Seal realm, he would have performed even better in this year's 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering. However, it's a pity now. With regards to Yu Xianxin's words, Feng Huai could not deny it as he nodded his head. A faint smile remained on his face as he said, to Qingyun, this 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering is merely a formality. Treat it as a training exercise for him. As for results, they're not too important. That's true. However, it's very dangerous for him to participate in the Myriad Talisman Immortal Gathering with his 5 Seal Realm cultivation. Hearing Feng Huai's words, Yu Xianxin showed an expression of disagreement. A sinister glint flashed in his eyes as he laughed. Brother Huai, aren't you afraid that something bad will happen to Mo Qingyun in the 10,000 Talisman's Immortal Gathering? Old fogey from the Shu Talisman sect. What do you mean by that? Hearing Yu Xianxin's words, the elders of the Mao Talisman sect immediately became displeased and angrily shouted at him. I'm just thinking for the sake of your Mao Fu sect. It's not easy for a genius to appear in your sect. It wouldn't be good if something happened to him. Yu Xianxin smiled sinisterly when he saw the expressions of the Mao Fu sect's elders. He continued, also, don't forget that Mo Qingyun has offended the Sword Talisman sect and the Shadow Talisman sect. They really want Mo Qingyun's life. Upon hearing Yu Xianxin's words, the expressions of the Mao Talisman sect's elders froze. Intense worry appeared on their faces. With Mo Qingyun's cultivation at the initial stage of the 5th seal, it would be dangerous for him to be pursued by the disciples of the Sword Talisman sect and the Shadow Talisman sect. Supreme Elder, Quan Sheng has entered the top 1,000. While the elders of the Mao Talisman sect were worried, an elder of the Shu Talisman sect was overjoyed as he spoke to Yu Xianxin. After Yu Xianxin heard this, he immediately showed a look of surprise and raised his hand to look at the light screen. Rank 997. Yu Shangquan, points, 4,670. Good. Upon seeing Yu Shangquan's ranking, Yu Xianxin's face immediately lit up with joy as he began to praise Yu Shangquan. Given Shangquan's talent, if nothing goes wrong, there is hope for him to enter the top 800 of the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering. It's not just the top 800. In my opinion, he has a high chance of entering the top 500. An elder of the Shu Talisman sect revealed a proud expression. There was a hint of provocation in his eyes as he turned to look at Feng Huai and the others. He said proudly, neighbors of the Mao Fu sect, our sect Shangquan has entered the 9 Seals sect. With the help of the 9 Seals sect, it won't take long for him to break through to the 7th Seal realm. At that time, our Shu Talisman sect will become a 7 Seals sect. As neighbors, if your Mao Fu sect needs protection, you can come to our Shu Talisman sect. We will definitely take good care of you. Another elder of the Shu Talisman sect added. Don't forget that our Qingyun can enter the 9 Seals sect directly. Upon hearing the words of the elders of the Shu Talisman sect, Feng Huai revealed a look of displeasure. He said coldly, with Qingyun's talent, he will definitely receive great help for the 9 Seals sect. It's even possible for him to become a 9 Seals expert in the future. Our Mao Fu sect doesn't need your protection. That depends on Mo Qingyun coming out alive. An elder of the Shu Talisman sect sneered proudly. Upon hearing the words of the elder of the Shu Talisman sect, Feng Huai and the others were immediately enraged. A murderous aura was emitted from their bodies. At this moment, if they weren't outside the Myriad World Valley, they would have already attacked the people of the Shu Talisman sect. Right now, Feng Huai and the others were about to draw their swords. Among the elders of the Shu Talisman sect, another one of them was overjoyed. he said excitedly to Yu Xinshin, Grand Elder. Uxin has also entered the top 1,000. It seems like our sect might have 2 disciples enter the 9 Seals sect in this 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering. Haha, good, very good. Seeing the performance of the disciples of the Shu Talisman sect, Yu Xinshin was overjoyed. He turned to look at Feng Huide and smiled faintly. Brother Huide, it seems like the rise of the Shu Talisman sect in this 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering is unstoppable. Brother Xinshin, the assessment of the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering lasts for 3 months. It hasn't even been a day yet. It's too early for you to be so excited. As soon as Mo Qingyun finished speaking, he raised his hand and formed a hand seal. He then blasted it into the air. Following that, streaks of dazzling crimson light burst out in the surroundings, forming a crimson flame. This is an array. You set up an array? Seeing the activation of the extinguishing heavenly flame array, Yu Shangquan and the others' expressions immediately changed. Their faces were filled with panic. They did not expect Mo Qingyun to have such attainments in arrays besides his monstrous talent. At this moment, they could feel that the array that Mo Qingyun had set up brought about a huge threat to them. It's too late to realize it now. Mo Qingyun did not pay attention to the panic of Yu Shengquan and the others. He immediately controlled the extinguishing heavenly flame array and attacked Yu Shengquan and the others. Huff, huff, huff. Not long after, rays of terrifying heavenly flame fell from the sky and bombarded Yu Shengquan and the others. My hand. Under the bombardment of the extinguishing heavenly flame array, Yu Shengquan and the others immediately let out miserable shrieks. Mo Qingyun, we were wrong. Please, on account of the fact that our 2 sects are neighbors, please spare us this once. That's right. As long as you let us go, we will give you our points. Inside the array formation, Yu Shengquan looked at the terrifying heavenly flames and panicked as he begged Mo Qingyun for mercy. Spare you. Chapter 644. Outside the Valley of a Thousand Worlds. He's in the top 500. Grand Elder, look. Qingyun's ranking has entered the top 500. He's really in the top 500. If this continues, Qingyun will enter the top 300 soon. When Feng Huide and the others saw that Mo Qingyun had entered the top 500 on the light screen, they immediately became excited. In just a few hours, Mo Qingyun's ranking had actually entered the top 500. This speed of improvement was too shocking. Compared to the joy of Feng Huide and the others, Yu Xinshin and the others' hearts sank. Every time they saw Mo Qingyun's ranking rise, they felt as though they had been slapped in the face. Didn't they just say that Mo Qingyun's ranking was beyond 10,000? But now, not only was Mo Qingyun's ranking not beyond 10,000, but he had also entered the top 500. This scene was truly a slap in the face. How ironic. At this moment, an elder of the Shu Talisman sect revealed a gloomy expression. He looked at Huide and the others with envy and jealousy and said coldly, Don't be too happy. Don't be too happy. Feng Huide and the others' faces darkened when they heard the elder's words. One of the elders sneered. Are you talking about yourselves? Weren't you all very arrogant just now? Now that all of your sect's disciples are dead, why can't you let others be happy? Well said, Elder Su. The other elders of the Mao Talisman sect clapped their hands and cheered when they heard the elder's words. The elder of the Shu Talisman sect, was speechless when he heard Elder Su's words. He glared at Elder Su, speechless. Although he wanted to retort, he couldn't. After all of their Shu Talisman sect disciples were dead. After being speechless for a while, the elder of the Shu Talisman sect had a gloomy expression. He gritted his teeth and said, "I want to see how your Shu Talisman sect's geniuses will perform next. What else can you do other than watch? Don't tell me that the dead disciples of the Shu Talisman sect can come back to life?" Hearing what Elder Su said, the Mao Talisman sect's Elder Su mocked him again. In Elder Su's opinion, since the Shu Talisman sect wanted to shed all pretense of cordiality, there was no need for him to show any mercy. He clearly remembered that outside the Heavenly Rainbow restaurant, the Shu Talisman sect had burned the bridge after crossing it. Furthermore, the Mao Talisman sect had 2 8 seal powerhouses as their backing. Why would they need to worry about the Mao Talisman sect? Hearing Elder Su's words, the people from the Shu Talisman sect snorted coldly and stopped talking nonsense. While the people from the Mao Talisman sect and the Shu Talisman sect were arguing, the people from the two sects had already arrived. Outside the Valley of the 10,000 Worlds, there were many pairs of eyes watching Mo Qingyun's performance. Top 500. This little guy's performance is really unbelievable.